All right, it's 9 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order on April 18th, 2023. And I have asked our Assistant Fire Chief, retired but now back for a short stint, Andy Murphy. He said just call him Andy, to help us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks, Andy.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. So, as I do at the beginning of every meeting, I remind all of us, the board and the public, that we are here to help our community. And in that, when we come to the Board of Supervisors, we come with respect, dignity, and showing kindness to others. And hopefully this permeates throughout our community. And towards that end, every beginning of every board meeting, I do pick a quote from usually somebody you've heard of that says something about kindness to remind us all. And it might be those who are in my age bracket or older who remembers Richard Carlson. He was an actor, a TV film director, and screenwriter. And this is what he had to say. Choose being kind over being right, and you will be right every time. All right, thank you. So at this point, I would like to open up our board meeting to oral communications, which means that if you look at the agenda, if what you want to speak of is not on the agenda, and you want to make an announcement in 3 minutes or less, or make a comment in 3 minutes or less, you are welcome to do so right now. Oh, excuse me.
It's on?
There you go.
Okay. Good morning, Board. This coming Saturday, April 22nd, the aviation community of our two airports is coming together to introduce young people to the joy of aviation. The local EAA chapter based at Pine Mountain Lake Airport is having a Young Eagle Rally at the Columbia Airport. This event gives kids from age 8 to 17 an opportunity to take an airplane ride and experience the joy of flight. Our local EAA chapter 1337 does 2 Young Eagle rallies every single year. One at the Columbia Airport in April and one at Pine Mountain Lake Airport in October. There are 76 kids registered for this event. So I'm not advertising because unfortunately registration is closed and we will not be able to accommodate any walk-ups. But I do encourage you as board members to stop by the airport and see the excitement of the kids from 9 to noon when we'll be giving rides. We are working hand in hand with the Tuolumne County Airport's office. We've been conducting Young Eagle rallies at our 2 airports since 2003, and we have flown over 1,100 kids. There are 22 volunteers working, including 9 pilots who volunteer their time, as well as their airplanes and the fuel to give rides. We have 1 pilot from Twainhart, 3 from Columbia, and 5 from Groveland that will be putting on this Young Eagle Rally. An introduction to aviation can change the future of many of our kids. It introduces them to exciting possibilities of pursuing STEM education of science, technology, engineering, and math. It also presents real career possibilities in aviation, maintenance, in ground operations, air traffic control, and flying, in civilian, military, and private aviation. Airports are essential infrastructure, along with roads and bridges. Airports connect people, products, services, and communities. And it's been said, I don't know where the quote comes from, but A mile of road will take you nowhere, but a mile of runway can take you anywhere.
Thank you.
So I just want to make a brief comment. I got my pilot's license at age 18 in Watsonville, over on the coast, and love to see this type of program. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning to all of the board members and all of Tuolumne. I am back here to again remind you, and in case people don't know, to our GSAC fundraiser. It's called Shangri-La, and it's a very wonderful night of good food, and we're having a silent auction, we're having a raffle, we're having a band if you like to dance, and we know that it will be a very good, fun night. We are hoping for lots of money so that we can continue to fund the GSAC programs that we have, one of which is the shower bus that gives showers twice a week to those that are homeless and just don't have a way to get a shower. And we also have a transient bus that takes them from wherever they are to the shower and back again, as well as other maybe little trips in between if they need them. And what's coming up in the near future is we will also be needing funds to start our mobile laundry bus, which will be going in the same places, and it will be free to anybody who wants to do their laundry. We'll also be using the transit bus to take people there and back again, as well as showers and hygiene and clothes and food and prayer, which is my favorite. So I have some cards for those who want to take one for a phone number, and you can also get a hold of us at the GSAC online. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
One last thing.
Yes, ma'am.
GSAC, for those who don't know what that means.
It is give someone a chance,
Thank you.
which we do. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. I will address the board as I was trained to do many, many years ago. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. May not be appropriate these days with some of the issues, but that's not what I'm here for. I just thought about that. I am here to talk about Parkinson's disease. April is Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month, and there is really, really good news on the effort to try to diagnose Parkinson's and come up with, a disease that has afflicted millions of people over many, many years, well over 100 years when it was first not diagnosed, but was named, I guess you might say. The Michael J. Fox Foundation, as you know, Michael J. Fox was stricken with Parkinson's when at quite a young age, and because of his efforts and his notoriety, I guess that's not the right word, but has done tremendous work within his foundation to try to find some way to diagnose Parkinson's, because there never was a way to diagnose it. There were no tests. It was clinical. All you had to go to a neurologist, and hopefully they were well trained and had some experience and could say, yeah, you have Parkinson's, but there was no test. There was no blood test. There was nothing until April the 12th. At least that's when it was announced this year. They finally have a biomarker that actually, through the spinal fluid and the brain fluid, they can actually detect whether or not you have Parkinson's, but also whether or not you may get Parkinson's. So this is a huge advance in the treatment of Parkinson's disease. It will lead to better treatments, faster treatments, cheaper treatments, and maybe prevent Parkinson's entirely. In August of last year, My wife was diagnosed with Parkinson's. So I get a little emotional, but it's quite a journey for people who have to deal with that. And probably half the people in this room have a family member, somebody who have Parkinson's or have Parkinson's themselves. So this is really great news that we have some way to now diagnose it. I started taking my wife to neurologist 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. They couldn't diagnose it. And I read and I read and I read, and I says, I think she has Parkinson's. No, she's fine. Finally, after 3 years, we finally got a neurologist who was able to diagnose it. But he's, because of his experience and his awareness. Sorry, I'm out of time, but this
Thank
is
you.
just great news that we have a way to deal with it now. So be
Thank you
aware.
for sharing. Yeah. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. I wish I had the time to tell you the story of what took place between my son and a Sonora City police officer last week. Let's just say there was a situation of mistaken identity that would have been awkward for anybody. It was made even more awkward by the fact that my son's disabled, but the officer handled it very professionally and was kind about the whole thing. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of what our law enforcement has to deal with. Just a few days before, while students were locked in classrooms and huddled in closets, we all witnessed officers with guns drawn running toward what could have been a tragic and dangerous situation. I wondered what was going through the officers' minds. I wondered if any of them had kids at Sonora High. Then, just a couple days later, they had to do it again for a similar situation at Sonora L. I am so thankful for our local law enforcement, and I am extra thankful that they are local and that they have a vested interest in our community because they are part of our community, and it's time to pray for them. Dear Lord, thank you so much for all of our law enforcement in Tuolumne County. Thank you for helping to keep our kids safe on those days. Thank you that the events were false alarms. Thank you, Lord, for the willingness of these men and women to go into completely unknown situations, putting their lives on the line in an effort to help keep our community safe. Give them your strength and courage to continue. Lord, help them to know that the vast majority of our community supports them. Do not let the loud voices of a small minority infect their spirit or discourage them from their willingness to do what they are doing. I thank you, Lord, that local law enforcement is local, and I ask you to stifle any organized attempt to try and remove local control of law enforcement and place it in the hands of federal or even international control. I pray, Lord, for the families of these officers. Every day an officer leaves the house, they leave behind a loved one who worries. I pray, Lord, that you might right the minds of anyone who wishes to harm others, especially our children. Make them forget whatever crazy reason they think they have to do such a thing. I pray, Lord, that you would make the jobs of our officers easy. I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good morning.
Good morning. I thought maybe Gary Johnson would come. So on behalf of the volunteer fair, I would like to thank everyone who came. I just thought that was such a great event, and it was so nice to be someplace where everybody was nice to each other. Everybody was happy, and I've already seen some volunteers who signed up at that event that are out in the community helping now, so that's really great. I would like to talk a little bit, I see Dr. Freeman is here, about hepatitis B. So my understanding is there's a nationwide program now called Hep B Free because 2/3 of the people that have hepatitis B don't know it. And a chronic untreated hepatitis condition can lead to chronic liver disease or even liver cancer and then onward to some fatalities or life impairment. So I would like to know what we're doing about hepatitis B in our community. And then I just want to say how disappointed I am in the 5 of you that you couldn't rise above the finger pointing and the name calling and whatever. And I find it interesting that not only does NIMBYism live in your neighborhood by neighborhood residents, but it appears to live in districts too. So when your district comes up, apparently it's okay with you to vote no. And I just think that's shameful.
Thankful. Thank you. Anybody else from the audience? All right, so we will move on then to staff reports. Come on up. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the board and members of the community. My name is Shauna Arnbright, and I work with the Tolman County Department of Social Services. And I am here today to speak to you all and speak to our community about some potential help that we have to offer. Due to the disaster declaration that was declared for Tolman County, we have been approved for Disaster CalFresh benefits. And so Disaster CalFresh benefits is a different kind of CalFresh benefits that is only available to members of the community who do not already have CalFresh benefits. And the eligibility is very simple, very basic, and the eligibility is if any member of the community lives in the community or works in the community, and they had some kind of disaster-related expense, whether it be their home disaster or loss of food due to power outages, they are potentially eligible. Now, the application window is very small. It's only a 7-day window, and it opened up yesterday. So from Monday the 17th to Tuesday the 25th. Individuals can apply online. They can apply in person at our main office, and they can apply over the phone. And the basic eligibility requirements, as I mentioned, was just they living or working in the community. They have had some kind of disaster-related expense, and they meet the income threshold. Now, the income threshold is calculated very differently than all other programs. We take the net take-home income plus their liquid resources, and we are able to subtract all disaster-related expenses, no matter how large. And if eligible, if they're below the income limit, then they're eligible to 1 month of CalFresh benefits. CalFresh benefits are loaded onto what's called an electronic benefits transfer card, an EBT card. It works just like a debit card and is accepted at most, almost all grocery stores here in Tolman County. I think that's it that I have for Disaster CalFresh. Again, it's eligible for, I did give the board clerk some flyers, and I put some out on the board, on the table over here. The eligibility window is very small, or the application window is very small, so we just asked to spread the word for anybody who is interested and would like to get a little bit of help.
So are you advertising this on social media as well to get to
Yes, we
people?
are. Yes, we do have the social media platform, and it's going to go out on Facebook, Instagram, I think one other, LinkedIn or something.
Feel free to tag any supervisors who can also spread the word.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Board. I'm Tammy Mariscal, your Behavioral Health Director. Today I am here to promote a mental health awareness event. This preemptive to May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Sometime in February, I received a request to meet with Sonora Area Foundation. They were interested in partnering with ourselves, Tolman County Behavioral Health, and some other organizations within the county to focus on an event that would assist parents with recognizing possible mental health challenges within their youth. So I am really proud to announce that the group grew quite a bit, and through the county superintendent's office, through Sonora Adventist Health, the Yes Partnership, Lantern of Light, Front Porch, again, Tuolumne County, and some folks from Sierra Bible Church. We have put together a Not My Kid event. That's going to happen on April 26th from 5:30 through 7:30 p.m. There is food, free food, networking. We are going to have outbreak sessions that will cover anxiety, depression, sense of belonging, suicide prevention, grief. There is free childcare. We invite you to invite anybody and anybody that you know that might benefit from experiencing some breakout sessions, receiving some education, and walking away with some really good tools to support the youth either in your homes or in the community or those that you might be attached to. I've put some flyers out on the table in the back and have a few for you all to take home with you. And I really ask that you not only spread the word through your social media, but take time to reach out in person and really have some conversations with families and friends that you might know and encourage them to come on out because we're excited and we believe it's going to be a really successful event and this is the first of many. So with that, I will give you these.
Tammy,
and-
clarification
Yes,
on this
ma'am.
event. The evening event, I think, follows an all-day type event for students?
Yes, there is a event that is being managed through the school specifically, so it's not associated to the Not My.
But they're on the same day, they're
Kid.
kind of
They're on the
connected in
same
that way,
day. The
yeah.
plan is that we would take advantage of the day's event through the school. That's called True Hope.
Okay.
There is a website. I encourage you to look at that. They are focusing on seventh graders through through seniors. Every student will have an opportunity to attend that day's event. And don't know much about it, so I don't want to.
Yeah. That's great. I
go
just
through
wanted
that, but
to
yeah.
reinforce that the evening event is for parents.
The evening event is for parents. There is childcare for small ones, but we are encouraging parents, if they choose, to bring their teens with them.
Oh, great.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning.
Good morning, Kim Freeman, your health officer. I'm here to ask you and the community to participate in our community health needs assessment. It is currently open through April 30th. You can find the link on our public health webpage. We are seeking input on what we should prioritize as public health over the next few years. From the needs assessment, we will develop an implementation plan. You may know that the hospital also did a needs assessment, so while we are similar, we are not the same, and if you've already provided input to them, your input to public health is needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have you come back, Kim,
Hey,
Dr.
just
Freeman?
real quick, how does one access that? Do they go to the public health website? Or?
Yeah, so it's on the public health website, on the landing page. It's just at the bottom of the landing page, just click on it. It says, "We want your input."
Thank
It's
you.
also available through social media, and there'll be some QR codes around town and flyers and such.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning. Welcome.
Morning. Eric Aiken, Library and Recreation Manager. I'm just here to report on a couple, some not so good news and some good news. The not so good news first, our Tuolumne Youth Center is still closed due to the flood damage that we received in the February-March storms. The big thing we're waiting on right now is they're gonna have to replace the carpet in the center, and last we heard that was about a 6-week lead time. So the Tuolumne Youth Center is currently closed. However, we are trying to adapt and modify programs over at Memorial Hall as we can to offer programs for the kids in that community. So we are meeting out there kind of around the already scheduled programs in the Memorial Hall to try and offer some sort of programs for the kids out there. And as the weather improves, we'll be doing some stuff outside as well. The other facility that we are dealing with is the Standard Park Sports Complex. That park is still closed. We had our facilities management has been working with Belfour to clean up and remediate all the issues that are going on out there. The last big one we have left is the actual removal of the infields and replacement of all that dirt. Last we heard from the contractor, once work starts, it'll be about an 8-week project. Unfortunately, the little bit of rain we received last night wasn't that great because it keeps the dirt wet, which keeps them off of it even longer. So that once they start, they're saying about an 8-week turnaround time to finish that project. We are working with them to try and complete it as quickly as possible and hopefully open up that park as soon as possible for the community and the different programs that we offer out there. On a lighter note, we did just secure Soulsville Elementary for our summer recreation program. So we are expecting registration for that to go out here in the next week or two. So we do have a commitment to provide our full summer rec program again this summer at Soulsville Elementary. We are currently hiring for all of our seasonal positions, lifeguards, summer rec staff, standard park staff. We are in the process of hiring all those positions right now, so anyone interested in a seasonal position, those positions are online through Human Resources website. Unfortunately, we had to cancel our Tiny Tots Touch a Truck fundraising event on April 29th. It was scheduled to be at Standard Park, and since we're not allowed to be in there right now, we had to unfortunately cancel that event. We are looking at a makeup day hopefully this fall, but right now we don't have anything set in stone, so. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Just one question on the summer rec program. Did you connect with ATCA about the lunch program?
We've reached out. We haven't had a chance to actually meet yet, but we are in conversations about that.
We'll follow up afterward. All right, thanks.
Good morning, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm Joelle Kewish. I am the Adult Division Manager of the Probation Department, and I'm here today to share with you that last Thursday, the Board of State and Community Corrections, the BSCC, approved recommended funding for 24 county probation departments via the Mobile Probation Services Center program, which was established in the State Budget Act of 2022. Of the funds appropriated, $20 million were made available to fund a competitive grant program for county probation departments to establish mobile probation service centers. These grants will allow county probation departments to purchase vehicles, telecommunications, equipment, and other technology needed to provide mobile probation services to the community, to assist probationers, particularly unhoused probationers who are having difficulty complying with probation requirements. The funding was allocated across small and medium and large counties. Small counties competed against small counties and so forth. Tuolumne County was considered a small county. Tuolumne County was considered a small county on that RFP, and of the 11 counties that applied for the grant funding, 9 were awarded, including Tuolumne County, in the requested amount of $187,000 and change to purchase a Sprinter van and equip it with necessary technology to provide probation mobile services. Items purchased will be the property of the county after the obligations to report out to the state are complete. This 4-year grant will allow the probation department to increase linkage and services to the unsheltered, justice-involved populations. It will allow us to partner with other county human services departments, community-based organizations, and nonprofits when needed to promote linkage between agencies. The main goal of the probation mobile program is to allow probation officers to make contact with probationers without barriers throughout the county, particularly in those difficult areas to reach. We're hoping to improve outcomes, decrease violations of probation, and reduce instances of individuals going out on warrant status. Another project goal would be to remove barriers for pretrial participants who frequently report a lack of stable housing as a barrier to their success. Many of these individuals have no means of transportation, no communication devices, no access to internet or computers. This proves difficult to effectively case manage this population and provide beneficial service for improved outcomes. The probation mobile unit will allow probation officers to meet people where they are in the county and allow for person face-to-face basic needs assessment, establish connection and linkage to community services such as mental health, medication management, substance abuse counseling, and other evidence-based programming to promote success on probation and improve autonomy. The probation mobile unit will be utilized by both the juvenile and the adult probation officers who will conduct case management activities in the field that align with the program's ultimate goal of assisting unhoused probationers who struggle with compliance issues because of their circumstances and their limited access to community resources and support services. Our department will be preparing the governing board resolution and any other official documents needed and bring them before your board in anticipation of beginning the program next fiscal year. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, I have my entourage with me. Good morning, Board. Dory Beats, Office of Emergency Services Coordinator. I am joined here with Chad Bowman, who's External Affairs for FEMA, and Luis Santos, who is a PIO for the Small Business Administration. So both these gentlemen have been helping the last couple of weeks as we work with the disaster recovery. So a little update. As you recall, President Biden issued a second major disaster declaration of the year for storms that started February 21st. While we continue to receive initial damage estimates from public entities, we are excited to report that just last week, Tuolumne County was officially included under the public assistance. And so, like the major disaster declaration that we had in December and January, we are now eligible as a public entity to seek 100% reimbursement of our Category A debris removal and Category B emergency protective measures. We also are eligible then to request project funding for repairs to facilities, roads, et cetera, that we have identified as impacted areas. Unlike the December-January storm, the most recent storm also saw the most individuals and or businesses affected. As a result, the President authorized for the first time ever in Tuolumne County individual assistance for those that had impacts from those particular storms. Assistance can include grants for temporary housing, home repairs, low-cost loans to cover uninsured property losses, and other programs to help individuals and business owners recover from the effects of disaster. Tuolumne County OES, in conjunction with FEMA, Cal OES, and coordinated obviously with Small Business Administration, opened a disaster recovery center, or a DRC, at the Tuolumne Resiliency Center. It's our new logo, the DRC at the CRC. Don't ask me. And this is located at 18241 Bay Avenue in Tuolumne. It is open now Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And there are multiple staffed agencies represented, including FEMA, Cal OES, SBA, American Red Cross, California Department of Social Services, California Employment Development Department, the DMV, Department of Insurance, and even the Contractors License Board, amongst many other agencies that are there. For example, if you've lost your driver's license, you can go to the DRC at the CRC and get your driver's license right there from the DMV folks. Services and resources are available for both individuals and businesses, and we stress that there are multiple ways that you can register. First and foremost is you can go online to disasterassistance.gov. You can also call the 1-800 number, and that is 1-800-621-3362. or you can go in person to our DRC. And we have flyers like this that are out front, and we've also posted this on social media and our website. Not only have we opened the Disaster Recovery Center, but we have FEMA DSA teams. These are disaster survivor assistance teams. FEMA folks out in the field. They've been here a little over a week, out and about, walking our neighborhoods, going door to door. These DSA teams, you can register right there on the spot, or they can give you more information. They've been a great resource for us to get information out and really get individuals who are unaware of the services available, or maybe thought because they had registered with us, they didn't have to do anything anymore. So it's been really, really great to have them. We hope to have DSA teams at an upcoming supervisors town hall, as well as also over at the enrichment center, so that we can target some of our unhoused, non-traditional housed individuals in our community. To date, and we get a report, I get a report every day, and about how many individuals are going through the DRC, but also just as a county-wide, how many individuals or businesses we have registered. And to date, 343. And FEMA has already approved $1,344,864 for those individuals and businesses. That is huge. Huge, and we are so thankful for the partnership and the fact that all of us together jointly had really made the argument that our individuals and businesses have been impacted, so they can seek some assistance. We want everyone to know that you will not know that you're eligible for a service unless you register. So take the time either to go online, to call in, or come visit the DRC so that you can ask those questions and see. And most individuals that have been going through the DRC, and it's averaging probably 25 or so to 38 maybe a day that are coming in and out, are just surprised at the resources that are there and available. And I invite all of you to come and visit that. So Chad and Luis and I will be doing Motherlode Views this weekend. We will be taping that tomorrow to answer a lot of questions. So we hope also to educate folks in the community about the resources that are available. If you have any questions, please always reach out to Tuolumne County OES line at 209-533-6395. Again, you can come to the DRC. We have flyers and information available, both from FEMA, SBA. We also want to encourage folks that are property owners from the Assessor Recorder's Office. There is an application for reassessment of damaged or destroyed property. We have those forms. They have them downstairs. We have them online. This is also an important resource for our homeowners here in Tuolumne County. So with that, I just wanted to introduce my fellow two PIOs. They'll be out in the hallway to answer any questions, and we're very excited. We plan to keep currently right now the DRC open until May 12th, but we are revisiting that once a week to see what our numbers are, and we have the option, obviously, to close earlier if we deem appropriate. So.
Thank you for that report, Dory. I wanted to emphasize, I took you up on your offer and I visited the DRC in Tuolumne on Saturday. It is quite the operation. You think you know what it's like, and you go in there and service after service after service, and multiple people there to help when you come in. And I would say rather than registering online, if that's the only way that you have to do it, fine. But come in person. You will get more services than you even thought were possible available at this site. And I just can't congratulate you all enough at the wonderful work you're doing there. So any other staff reports? Seeing none, we will go to the consent calendar. And clerk, when you are ready, if you will please read the items that are on the consent calendar.
Good morning, thank you. Item 1, approving the minutes of the April 4th, 2023 and April 11th, 2023 meetings. Item 2, approving amendment number 4 to the Lionakis Agreement to extend the agreement period to May 30th, 2023, related to the Community Resilience Center projects. Item 3, approving an agreement between the California Department of Public Health and the county's Public Health Department for California's Home Visiting Program services, recognizing $314,513 in unanticipated revenue and increasing appropriations in the same amount in the fiscal year 2022-23 public health budget, approving 2 permanent full-time program specialist positions and authorizing the county administrator to sign any related documents. 4/5 vote required. Item 4, approving the awarding of a contract in the amount of $57,840 to Global Road Sealing, Inc., contained in the adopted budget to perform work as shown in the plans and bid book for contract number 1759 Mona Way Crack Seal Project and authorizing the chair to sign. Item 5, approving comments to the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife on the California Spotted Owl Endangered Species Act listing proposal. Item 6, approving the reappointment of Jim Phelan, Jim Maddox, and Richard Gazer to the Natural Resource Committee with terms to expire 12/31/2025 and directing the clerk of the board to post a notice of vacancy for an at-large member. Item 7, approving the reappointment of Scott Fremd, District 1, and Wesley Brinegar, District 3, to the Fire Safety Advisory Committee with terms to expire 12/31/2025 and directing the clerk of the board to post a notice of vacancy for Districts 2, 4, and 5. Item 8, approving the agreement with CML Security for service and maintenance of security electronic system at the Dambacher Detention Facility and the Motherlode Regional Juvenile Detention Facility in the amount not to exceed $250,000 as contained in the fiscal year 2022-2023 adopted budget, authorizing the county administrative officer to sign and all future documents.
Thank you, Tanya. Okay, the first thing I'm going to ask our board is if any board member has an item they wish to pull from the agenda. Not seeing any. How about comments? Go ahead, Supervisor Goldenberg.
Yeah, so regarding consent item number 7, first of all, would like to thank Scott Fremd and Wesley Bringer for continuing to serve on the Fire Safety Advisory Committee. They've both been active and have done really good work. We've got some other members, Districts 2, 4, and 5, that, either they decided not to continue, or in the case of District 5, this has not been filled in a very long time. So we encourage, and not just for this committee, but any committee, that we fill the vacancies, because quite frankly, we can end up in a situation where we don't get a quorum and we can't do business. And this happened to me last week with the Commission on Aging. We didn't have enough people because of the amount of vacancies. So I encourage my fellow board members to please fill these vacancies. Thank you.
Thank you, and I join you in that we're looking for District 4 members to participate in the Fire Safety Advisory Committee. So if you would like to be on this most important committee and you live in District 4, we're accepting applications for this very critical position. So thank you. Anybody else? All right, with that, I will go to the public to see if there are any comments on any item on the consent calendar.
Thank you for mentioning the Fire Safety Advisory Committee. We could use some really good people on that committee, because a couple of times I think when I went, everybody was so busy entertaining everybody with all their skills and talents that I thought got in the way of getting business done. And I have a concern about Wesley Brinegar because I believe you appointed him to the Planning Commission. So I just don't think that looks quite right, and we should find somebody else. Thank you.
Hi there.
Good morning, Board. With regard to number 4 on the agenda, the Monoway crack ceiling project, I just wanted to note that the low bid memo that's typically included in the board packet and agenda materials wasn't included on the materials that were online, so we provided that to your board this morning. There are copies in the back for the public, but I did review all the bids, and I found that Global Road Ceiling was the lowest responsive bid.
Good to know. Thank you. Any other comments before I call for a vote?
Yeah, I'll just clarify since what, you know.
Supervisor Campbell.
Apologies. Thank you, Chair. I'll just clarify, you know, because District 2 is one of the vacant seats. We are trying to communicate with the current representative there. I believe he's interested in continuing on, but hasn't submitted his paperwork yet. So that's the reason for the discrepancy there. But I am aware of that and making all efforts to make sure that we have full roster for the Fire Safety Committee because it's very important. So I'm on it, in other words.
And thank you.
All right,
I was just going to.
Supervisor Kirk.
I say this every week, so we save time on a consent calendar. Thank you to staff for answering questions. We do a lot of questions behind the scene to move this along, so thank you for getting back to us.
Great. All right, at this time, I'll call for a motion.
I'll move to approve consent.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Okay, I heard Supervisor Campbell motion and Supervisor Brandon make the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, carries 5-0. Moving on. We are under proclamations and commendations right now. Tanya, would you please read number 9?
Thank you. Item 9, presentation and consideration of adopting Resolution 32-23, proclaiming May 1st through May 7th, 2023 as Wildfire Preparedness Week in Tuolumne County.
Hello. Let me get this loaded up for everyone.
Give you a couple minutes to collect everything.
My
People and
I have a
points.
theme going on today. All righty. Good morning again. Dory Beats, your Office of Emergency Services Coordinator. I'm here joined with Division Chief Kevin Patton from CAL FIRE TCU and Sergeant Lieutenant, sorry, I goofed. I got to go up one, right? Sorry. Lieutenant Robert Nicofort from the Sheriff's Office here joining me today as we give a presentation for you on wildfire preparedness. I'm going to start out and then I'll kind of switch between the two and then wrap it up with kind of our requests to the board. As my memo states, we normally do this wildfire preparedness this time of year. We also ask for a proclamation for Wildfire Preparedness Week. We want to start earlier, and it's one of the efforts that we are doing within our office, all of our agencies collectively, as we transition from storm season into wildfire season a lot earlier than we all want to, but we need to get our community to be a part of the solution and come up with some ways and work together. So I want to talk just a little bit about what we do. All of our agencies obviously get together within our operational area, which is the entire county, whether it's the Sheriff's Office, whether it's CAL FIRE, County Fire, our fire districts, ambulance, all of our partners, and we U.S. Forest Service. We get together once a year and do our pre-fire season meeting. We're actually doing that this week. And so we gather the information about what things are looking at like, the conditions are looking like here within Tuolumne County, what our resources might be available, but also some of our priorities for communicating and making sure that we as agencies and first responders are working at our best to be able to take on whatever may come during this wildfire season. We also work on exercises and drills. We do that interagency-wise, interdepartmental, and then obviously, and I'll mention one that will involve the public here this next month, but we want to just share that we are always preparing throughout the year, but this is the time of the year that we're going to focus on wildfire preparedness. So with that, I'll turn it over to Division Chief Kevin Patton.
Good morning. I'm going to go over some of the stats for 2022 and 2023 so far. The average rainfall over the last 30 years for Tuolumne County comes in around 33.48 inches. The rainfall in 2022 at our Green Springs remote automated weather site was 15.3 inches. Currently this year, we've got 37.29 inches of rain. That's as of last Friday. And just a reminder, there's still 5 months left in this rain year. It ends at the end of September. The Mount Elizabeth RAWs in 2022, we saw 28.09 inches. So far in 2023, we've seen 55.73 inches. Smith Peak and Groveland, 2022, we saw 19.82 inches. And then this year so far, 46.68. So our current fuel moistures as of the 14th, 145%, and then last year at this same time we were sitting at 133%. And then the critical levels that we look at, we get concerned is when the fuel moistures get down to the 60 to 80 percentiles. Going to the next slide there, fire prevention activities in Tuolumne County. This year we have 12 CAL FIRE vegetation management projects and 3 grant-funded fuel reduction projects in Tuolumne County. So far, there's been 475 acres treated. 86 of those were treated through broadcast burning, and 389 acres were treated with fuel reductions, hand crews, and mechanical equipment. And they've completed 4,541 defensible space inspections. And then just a snapshot of our staffing resource availabilities. We provide a duty chief and battalion chief coverage 24/7, 365 days a year. When we're at peak staffing, which this year we're scheduled to go to peak June 19th, we have 15 CAL FIRE stations, 22 frontline engines with a minimum of 3 personnel. We have 2 bulldozers staffed every day. We have fire crews at Vallecito Conservation Camp, the Baseline Fire Center, the Mudload Fire Center, and the Stockton Delta Center. And then our air program at Columbia will have staffed up by May 24th. We'll have the air attack 2 tankers, the helicopter, and then we also have an exclusive use Type 1 additional helicopter that will be staffed at Columbia starting June 1st.
Good morning. The role of the Sheriff's Office, first and foremost, we're responsible for the notifications and the evacuations of the affected area. And after evacuations are done, we're responsible for securing that area and patrolling that area to make sure nobody comes in and loots and steals anything from anybody. And then lastly, repopulation of the area. So after the area's been deemed safe, we will come in or we'll still be there, and we'll strategically allow people back into the affected area. So 2 type of evacuations. We have the evacuation warning and the evacuation order. The warning is just that. It's a warning saying that this evacuation is imminent and it's going to be coming at some point. And during that, we'll give the best routes out for people to evacuate to and other information where they can go to. And then we come to the order, and that's the threat of the immediate life or property, and we need to get people out ASAP. Again, the direction is going to depend on what we feel is safe in coordination with fire and OES and where they'll be headed. Our notifications, we use the Tuolumne County Emergency Alert Notification System, local radio stations, My Mother Load. We go door to door when it's feasible. Social media, we have the Sheriff's Office social media, which has a pretty big following. OES, and then Tuolumne County Fire as well.
One of the areas that we try to educate everyone is making sure they have signed up for emergency alert notification. As the lieutenant said, it is important that we are able to communicate with you, and that is the mechanism by which we will issue the notifications through that alert notification system. I just want to remind the public, if you have not signed up for that, please do so. You can go straight to our Tuolumne County webpage. At the top line there, it says emergency alerts. It'll send you to the link. You can sign up that way. You can also search on your apps, Citizen Alert or Everbridge, type in Tuolumne Citizen Alert and apply that way. Also, if you need be, and you're not having a success with either of those routes, you can call our office, 209-533-6395. We can fill a form out for you or send you a form to fill out, and then we can intake it that way. We do have brochures out. We do educate throughout this season and throughout the year about signing up for emergency alert, but it's really important that you are signed up and you've opted in with your preference of how you want to be notified, whether it's your cell phone, your landline, or your email, so that when the sheriff's office does issue an evacuation warning or order, that you are notified. It is extremely important that we have everyone in the household sign up for this system. I also wanted to just remind folks that we do have a wildfire evacuation kind of pamphlet in conjunction with all of our agencies, and it does talk about the difference of the warning and the order. It also gives you some preparedness tips, et cetera, and phone numbers to call in case. This is a really great, handy information that we have for individuals to have at their fingertips. We will have an upcoming wildfire preparedness town hall. This is our annual town hall that will be Saturday, April 29th. It will be held at the Tuolumne Community Resiliency Center from 12:30 to 5. We'll have a lot of great booths and some presentations from the various agencies, interactive opportunity for individuals to come and participate on April 29th. Speaking of that, many of you know we also have a wildfire communication and outreach analyst in our office who is always at an information booth. He was at the Home and Garden Show this last weekend. We had him at the Volunteer Fair. We have him at a lot of events. So if there is an organization or a group that would like us to do a presentation about wildfire preparedness, we are happy and willing to do so. Please, again, call our office and we can make that happen. The last component that we would like to focus on is what can community members do. And our request before your board today is proclaiming May 1st through the 7th, 2023 is Wildfire Preparedness Week. At the end of that week, every year on that Saturday, the NFPA and many partner agencies promote Wildfire Preparedness Day, and that will be May 6th. And part of our reason coming to your board now as opposed to the first week of May is because we want community members to start thinking. Now is the time to be outside working on one of those projects, and pick a project, whether it's a big project for your entire property or something a little bit closer to home and working on defensible space to your home. But these are just options, 3 of them that are projects that you can do within your home and your property. And we want individuals to kind of work together with their family and their household and picking a project on that particular day. And if every one of us spends a little time out in our yard protecting our community, our households, our property for wildfire, the better we are as a whole community. And so we want everyone to join us in proclaiming and recognizing Wildfire Preparedness Week for May 1st through 7th, and then also participating in this Community Preparedness Day on May 6th.
All right, thank you so much for that presentation. Do we have questions from the board? Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you, and thank you for the presentation, for being here as well. I wanted to ask about the Community Wildfire Day in particular. We've had brought up for the last couple of years the idea of having mock evacuations or something that is able to get people in the mindset of okay, how do I actually pull together the stuff on a couple minutes' notice, get it all in the car, and then have a barbecue afterwards, but something where the whole community's doing it and testing it. We've also seen with kind of Love Tuolumne, One Pile, these other groups that do a lot, extensive outreach, volunteer organizations. So I wanted to ask on this, how are we engaging the public with that? We may announce the day and it may exist, but are we actively planning events like these other groups do? Or are we hoping they will take them on just from our promoting?
Thank you, Supervisor. One of the events that I failed to mention is every year we do test our emergency alert notification system with the Sheriff's Office. That particular date will be on Monday, May 20th. It is something that we will advertise and get everyone to interact in that particular. That is something that won't take a whole lot, but it's a great opportunity for us to test internally what happens when individuals are calling offices. As you know, we, in the event of a disaster and when we activate our Emergency Operations Center, we will create that public information line. And so during this test of our emergency alert notification, we will publicly go out and make sure that folks know that we're doing this test. And we will do a lot of education beforehand for individuals to sign up for their emergency alert notification prior to, so that they can be a part of this particular test and exercise. And then they'll have the opportunity, if need be, to call and talk to somebody who answers questions. Now, we are working on community-wide exercises where we can work with communities. And it's something that we're working on within our office, as well as with some of what has been identified in some grant-funded projects under our evacuation planning grant. So that is coming. We haven't figured out, how we're going to do it all wide, other than just have a day where everyone does it on their own. I will say our office just participated this last week. A local school, Soulsbyville Elementary School, did an evacuation drill where they loaded up every one of their students and transported them to a temporary evacuation or relocation or reunification center with their parents. We participated in that, observed that, gave some ideas and suggestions on how we can make that better, but also gave them ideas of all of the what-ifs that we know will happen in an event such as that, that might delay that kind of movement by a large group. So we are slowly doing that and working with our communities, but we haven't necessarily created one day yet, working on it, that we're going to advertise for everyone to participate at their own level.
Okay, and then for the preparedness day of the events that are going to be happening, or hoping folks go out and do it, do we have an engagement strategy for trying to get people to, again, share it? Again, Love Tuolumne is a great example. Pick what you would like to do, go do good work, but they help coordinate with a website for a team leader. They help connect to volunteers. They provide a forum and venue to share the stuff, hashtag it so that people can kind of celebrate it. Are we providing that type of support for that type of event?
Yeah, as you guys know, we, through a funded grant, we created Tuolumne County CERT team. We had a successful CERT basic course that we have 24 registered members now who are participating in many of our educational events, and they will be supporting us in some of that when we need assistance. We actually have a class this weekend to create more volunteers that will help us during those types of events, and definitely during exercise scenarios for our community. We are working through our own social media through OAS, and we have not used any outside source in helping us with those types of event. But we do share it with organizations so they can share it with their members as well.
Thank you.
Supervisor Goldenberg.
Yeah, so I've got just one question, and afterwards a couple of brief comments at the appropriate time. So for Kevin, Chief, you mentioned 4,500 defensible space inspections. Was that for all of TCU or just in Tuolumne County was my initial?
Those were the Tuolumne County defensible space inspections.
Okay. that's really commendable. That's a lot of inspections and much appreciated. Do we know how many more you're going to try to get in? And I realize it can be a staffing issue.
Well, so they brought on the defensible base inspectors, and currently they're, they go out and do inspections almost on a daily basis. So it just depends on how many they can accomplish.
Okay, well, much appreciated, all the work there.
All right, Supervisor Kirk.
Hi. My only question is, if somebody out in the community wants to know about being prepared and they go to OES, on the page here, it talks about the ordinance. I know I've already gotten a few phone calls, emails about the ordinance. And on the website, it says that Tuolumne County considers the vegetation ordinance. Is there anywhere that we could, on the website, have it maybe updated to where they can see the final version of that ordinance?
Yeah, and I
planning?
apologize. I thought we had that on there, so I'll double check with staff and I can make sure that's up there today.
Okay.
In relation to that, Supervisor, we are working, county fire staff are working, we're working on that pamphlet to bring back forward so we can start educating the community about the vegetation ordinance. So that has already been drafted, and we're going through some of the fine editings before we present it. So.
Okay, and that is live this year, correct?
Correct.
And I know there's going to be kind of a, not a grace period, but an
Educational period,
for
yes.
For this season, okay.
Yes.
All right, I have two questions. The first one is for the sheriff. You had two types of warning, and the first one was, well, two types of notices. The first one was an evacuation warning. Can you give us the categories of people that should take heed when they hear that and immediately begin the evacuation process?
Yeah, it should be your families, children, elderly people, and any kind of disabled folks should take that. And large animal owners as well, to where they can start getting them together because that order's coming.
Yeah, because for those populations, whether it's moving large animals or disabled or elderly, they're going to need more time.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And this question is for Dory. You had a slide on this presentation with Everbridge emergency alerts. Can you make, that slide is brilliant. Can you make that into a social media post that you send to us so we can send that out to the people on our social media as board members?
Yep, I will send that today.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, those are my questions. Let's go to the public. Comments from the public.
I found it very interesting that there's a fire preparedness and awareness event that's going to be coming up at the Tuolumne City Resiliency Center. I would ask that perhaps you consider also doing the same event at the Groveland Resiliency Center. I think South County gets forgotten, and it is more than an hour drive away, so you may not get as many people. So just for your consideration to maybe bring that also to Groveland.
Thank you. I was saving this for my comments because I just did questions first, but Janet, in order to answer your question, I'm going to ask for your help. I have been advertising for the South County Town Hall meeting on wildfire preparedness. It will be at the Resilience Center in Groveland from 5 until 6:30, and I have a slew of professionals that will be joining me. I will be introducing Dory, and she'll be the master of ceremonies as an OES coordinator, but we're also going to have the Sheriff's Office, CAL FIRE, GCSD Fire, Public Works, which is the Roads Department, Caltrans, and I think some people from the FEMA also, now that I understand, and I believe also somebody from the U.S. Forest Service. It's a big event, and so you'll get a lot out of it, and I would ask for your help in distributing these flyers throughout the community. If you need more, I've got some in the back table. Yeah, thank you. So any other comments from the public? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board for their final comments, if you have any.
I'll
Supervisor
start if that's
Goldenberg.
okay. Thank you. No, just, based on my own CAL FIRE background, pre-planning, preparation is paramount to anything that can be done. And so I just want to encourage the public to realize that, we've had a very heavy, stormy, winter up to this point, getting into the spring here shortly, rainfall almost double at times. And so that tends to lull people into, there's no problem, it's so wet out there. It will dry out, right? We will hit the dry period again. And actually all this rain could cause, pretty much higher, grasses. And so the fuel loading will be more difficult. So people need to just respect that, understand it, and do their clearing. It's a little bit of a problem if you do it too soon, you can get regrowth. So, consider that, but it's just very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah, and appreciate Supervisor Brandon's questions earlier. Kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but the idea that we need to involve the community more in disaster preparedness is paramount to me and to the work that the Fire Safety Committee, I think, is doing. And just that element of education that in order to live in this beautiful community of ours, you take on the responsibility of your own safety. You can't entirely rely upon the brave men and women in uniforms to save you in an emergency. You have to know your emergency evacuation routes. You have to know how to be prepared. That is a responsibility that you take on even as a homeowner living in this community. And so the more we can get that information out there in, people use the Great Shakeout as a good example of these large public engagement events. I know there are other counties in the state, Sonoma County, that does something similar to that for fire safety. So these things are done in other counties, and I'm very eager to see that we start doing them in Tuolumne County as well. And I think the town halls is a good place to start to get people signed up, get people engaged, and get the gossips in the communities engaged so that they spread the word that you have to understand how to give information in the event of an emergency. And so I'm very eager at looking at ways we can target one community a year and just have that community be an epicenter for a make-believe emergency and see how what works and what doesn't work. And almost the point of these kind of exercises is to have failures in the system so that we can learn where we can improve. So, and I think we do a really good job of that within our emergency service community, and I think we need to start bringing the public in more into that. So, but thank you for the efforts you've done.
I agree. Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. And I agree with him agreeing with me.
And I agree.
Thank you.
I agree with that.
Well, and building out on that, because I think that's a really great idea. One thing is having it in every neighborhood all at the same time, but I think, we're a community, we talk, you see on Nextdoor, everybody's sharing everything. The idea of picking one area per year and being able to go through this, and I think that's the level of engagement. We do a lot of proclamations, resolutions, where we may ask or support something, but then if we're not trying to actually pick that on-the-ground coordinator, give them the tools and resources to pull together volunteers, the door-to-door support, or whatever it ends up taking, or another agency to kind of take that on. We're not getting them actually involved. So they may read it, but they're going to have to learn this kind of at a kinesthetic level. I mean, they're going to have to go through it and do it. So I completely support that. I think that would be a valuable learning opportunity for our community, maybe an opportunity to also share just our other emergency services, defensible space inspections, resources available. I wanted to include one other thing too, recommendation at least with the Everbridge system. I know that it is an invaluable tool during an emergency, and we use that very effectively, and I'm happy with that. I always talk it up, say everybody needs to sign up for this at every event that I go to. I wanted to recommend the idea that this might be a valuable outreach when we're talking about the FEMA disaster services that are available. That is a precious space. You know, your mom and your grandma text you, right? You get email spam all the time. Text messages is something you have to be very careful with. That doesn't mean, though, that you can't use that to share information. You just have to be respectful and give them something worth reading. If we were to every few months be able to do that, I think we're building value into that system and reliance on the system in a way that they're going to share it more often. The problem with an only evacuation system is unless your area is under that, I mean, you have to download that on the auspice that at some point you may need it. But it's not providing something ongoing necessarily, kind of like get the emergency alerts on TV or something. You know that it's still there, it's active, but it's not really doing anything to change your life. This might be a really good opportunity to send it to several thousand people in the community, which I'm sure everybody in the DRC is going to love if we get a flood of them. But at the same point, that's the reason it's there. So just a recommendation.
Supervisor Kirk.
All right, I'll keep it short and simple. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think Tuolumne County has to date over the last couple of years invested over 300%, no, over 400% now into fire. How many staff are in OES right now? 2 or 3?
3.
3. We got 3, and when I was here, we didn't have a full-time. We got you full-time, 3 full-time. We have Everbridge, we have a vegetation ordinance, we have outdoor alert warning systems coming online. We have a lot of things that we have done, and so I would simply say this is a reminder to be prepared. There's personal responsibility. Government cannot hold your hand the entire way. We live in a high fire zone, so this is just a reminder to the community to be prepared. Tuolumne County has done our part and will continue to do our part to be prepared. We put our money where our mouth is, but it's going to take the entire community when stuff hits the fan to know what they are supposed to do and be prepared. So that's what I got to say.
All right, thank you. And I made my comment already, so with that, I see we have a resolution here that we have to approve, and I will entertain a motion.
So I would like to make that motion as Fire Safety Advisory Committee Chair, that we adopt Resolution 32-23 proclaiming May 1st through 7th, 2023 as Wildfire Preparedness Week.
All right, and do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, so a motion was made by Supervisor Goldenberg and seconded by Supervisor Brandon. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries 5-0. And at this point, I think it's time to take a break. So we'll take 10 minutes, and we will come back and resume at 10:28. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to call this meeting back to order. And Tanya, would you please read the next proclamation and/or commendation?
Thank you. Item 10, consideration of adopting Resolution 33-23, proclaiming April 23rd through the 29th as National Library Week. April 25th is National Libraries Workers' Day in Tuolumne County, and April 26th is National Library Outreach Day. April 27th as Take Action for Libraries Day, and encourage all county residents to visit the library this week to take advantage of the wonderful resources they provide to help build a strong community.
Thank you, and good morning.
Good morning. Eric Aiken, Recreation Library Manager, and with me is Karen Orfritz. She's one of our senior library assistants at the library. And we're here to talk to you about National Library Week. Each year across the nation, libraries across the country celebrate National Library Week to celebrate the workers within the library as well as the services they provide to their communities. This year, National Library Week will be April 23rd through the 29th, with April 25th being National Library Workers' Day, April 26th being National Library Outreach Day, and April 27th being Take Action for Libraries. The theme for this year's National Library Week is There's More to the Story. Libraries are no longer just what people think of as a place that we store the old books. They have become evolved over the years, and especially in Tuolumne County, have really evolved into more of a community hub, a community center that provides services to the community. It brings the community together and offers different programs and services to our residents within Tuolumne County. They are a place to gather and share ideas, a place to further education, a place to learn and be inspired, a place to meet up with friends and meet some new friends, as well as they often function as warming and cooling centers for our communities in those times of need. We have 5 locations throughout the county. We have a branch in Tuolumne, Twainhart, Groveland. We have our mobile bookmobile, as well as the main branch in Sonora. And at these branches, we provide an opportunity for those with a passion for literature, music, movies. We have ebooks, audiobooks. We provide free internet and free Wi-Fi to our users. We provide computer workstations for those that don't have that access at home. And we provide a sense of community within Tuolumne County. Just some of the programs, there are too many to name, but some of the big programs that we offer at the library, we have our summer reading program to help kids not go into that summer slide and lose that progress that they've made through the school year. So we have our summer reading program that is operated at all of our branch libraries. We offer children's story times throughout the year at all of our branches to create and inspire a love for reading with our young ones. We provide literacy services to those in need within our community that need a little help, either getting a GED or their education or just wanting to improve their literacy. We provide assistance to our residents for job applications and job resume building and helping them submit applications. We provide assistance in filing taxes. We provide STEM programs to our young ones throughout the community. We have a Books on Wheels, which we partner with the senior library as part of the Meals on Wheels to get books to those that are homebound and can't get out and make it to the library. We have book clubs to gather people from our community to discuss and exchange ideas, as well as we partner with groups like Tuolumne County Arts Alliance to showcase artists. We currently have on display in the library the art displays from several of our local elementary school and high school artists in Tuolumne County. But we also display local artists, photographers, painters, things like that within the library. So it's a place to showcase that as well. Next week during National Library Week, we will once again have our book amnesty, which means if you return your late books, there will be no fines assessed. Those will be waived. So whether it's a couple days late or you found a book in the back of your car that you've had for a long time and are too embarrassed to bring it back, we would love to get those materials back. So again, there will be no fines next week during National Library Week. We also have some special events that we're going to be offering next week. And with that, I would like Karen to kind of explain some of what those are.
Thank you. When we were discussing National Library Week several months ago, we wanted to create a lot of programs for that week, pretty much bombard the community with them, and then continue the progress throughout the rest of the year. So we're using this week as come back to your library, because we've been kind of taking a hiatus with COVID and everything. So we have several events planned. Tuesday, on the 25th, we're going to do a book art project. Participants can come in and learn how to create their own journal, bind a book using techniques that were actually taught at library school. One of the other library assistants is going to lead that, and she's looking forward to helping people create these cool private personal journals that they've created themselves. On Wednesday, the 26th, we are hoping that we can get the teens to come in and do a teen, we're calling it right now the Teen Critic Club. We want it to be an open book club for teens, that they can come in and talk about books that they've read, not assigned a book, because you tell a teen to read a book and it's suddenly a horrible book. But we want them to encourage their love of literacy and come in and I read this book, and I want to share with a bunch of other people. And we're going to open it up to video games, TV series, just to get the teens in to talk about it and explore other options. So that's Wednesday. On Thursday, we're going to do a family game night. We're going to have a ton of games and toys and crafts, stuff for the kids and families to come in. They can do whatever they want, well, within reason. But we will encourage families to come in and pick whatever they want to do. And this is something we are hoping that we can continue again later down the line in a few months. And on Friday, we are having a battle royale between Bubble Ducks and Bubble Frogs. We are literally going to have the teens knocking down Bubble Ducks versus Bubble Frogs. If you remember Angry Birds, it's sort of a tabletop version of that. We're hoping to get some prizes for the teens to play around and get them into the library again so that we can get them to come back in a few weeks and do other projects with them.
So with that, we would like to encourage and invite members of the board as well as the community to come out to the library next week to participate in some of these activities and see what the library has to offer. And we would recommend, or like to recommend, that this board adopt a resolution proclaiming April 23rd through 29th as National Library Week, and April 25th as National Library Workers Day, April 26th as National Library Outreach Day, and April 27th is Take Action for Libraries Day in Tuolumne County. Thank you.
All right, lots of fun stuff. I'll bring it back to the board to see if anybody has any questions, first of all. Any questions from the board? Supervisor Brandon.
I only have one question. Don't have a library within my area. I'm served by the other districts. I wanted to ask how everything's going with Bookmobile.
So again, we still don't have the actual bookmobile. We still are raising funds for that, but we have adopted one of our vehicles within the department and are doing mobile pop-up stops. So we have stops in Jamestown, Columbia, Tuolumne, Crystal Falls. We are expanding those each week. We keep adding new stops to the rotation. If anyone in the community has a thought or idea for a stop they would like to see, we are definitely open to that. We are currently working with some private businesses as well as government organizations to try and see if we can utilize their space as a stop. The Jamestown Community Hall is one of them. Saturdays we're down there for a good chunk of the day. But like I said, we're trying to hit most areas of the community, especially those that don't have the brick and mortar library within their town.
All right, I'll bring this to the people in the audience. Is there any one who wants to come forward and make some comments about this agenda item? Seeing none? Oh, seeing one. Okay, come on up.
Are you on? I'm on. I just want to thank you so much and commend the board and the county for revitalizing and encouraging and continuing to encourage the library because we so much need it in our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, now I'll bring it back to the board for any final comments. Supervisor Kirk.
I was texting my wife this because we are presidents of a homeschool school, and looks like some fun activities. So thank you guys for putting together a fun thing. You know, I've always kind of had a strained view of the libraries in the technological age where I just say you Google everything. Having 3 kids and one on the way for a 4th, the benefit of touching and feeling and reading a book. My kids have read more books than I have in my lifetime. That's embarrassing, but it's so important for kids to, I think it's great that you're making it fun for kids to be in a library because out of sight, out of mind. And so it's just an important factor. I see it firsthand. So thank you guys for making it a good experience and look forward to support you guys.
Supervisor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to the person that made the comment about the revitalizing our libraries. you know, those of you that know me and know kind of my story and my path to being on the Board of Supervisors know it began with a love of our Tuolumne County Library network, and seeing that a gradual decline in the support for our libraries was just something I wasn't willing to accept. And I'm so proud of this board and of county staff that I think our library is funded now to a point more than it's ever been. We are coming up on staffing at a level that's much higher than we were recent years, and so we're experiencing a renaissance in libraries and what they mean to communities, I think, throughout the state. But here, Tuolumne County is a perfect example of what libraries can be in communities, and we need to protect that and support it, I think, tremendously, because it's so critical to particularly the kids that maybe they're not into sports, maybe they have a difficult home life. It's a refuge. I mean, I've seen this, like kids that can't go anywhere else. They will come to the library after school. They can do their homework, or they can just relax and learn. And it's just the right kind of environment for a large number of kids that don't have anything else. And so it's a refuge in a lot of ways. It's there for people that are job hunting. When I used to work and volunteer at the library, I got really good at filling out the job application for Walmart, because people would come in and they would need work, and so they would need help filling out job applications. And so it's just up and down our every sector of the community, whether it's kids, people starting out in their careers, or seniors that want to learn a new skill. Everybody has something, can get something from the library. So I'm just really proud of you, Eric, and your team. And for everybody that's working at the library that might be listening to this, keep up the good work and keep doing what you're doing, because I think it's really special.
Supervisor Goldenberg.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, for updating us. My aunt was librarian when, for about 30 years. And when they eventually moved, what to do with 20,000 books. And so she eventually got through that. The bookmobile, I think, is hugely important. Continue to progress on that. It's something we can bring out to the community in the areas where we don't have libraries, so that they have, that chance. Audiobooks are really cool. I've taken a lot of long road trips, some 12, 13 hours, and audiobooks very beneficial. I was glad to hear you speak about STEM, because that's really important for the education, of our youth. Students in summer, right? They're out of school, and so there's opportunities to, for them to continue on and do things during the summer period. You guys rock, right? You're doing just a fantastic job, and so much appreciated. Thank you.
All right. Just thank you for all you do. So at this point, I think it's time to call for a motion on the resolution we have for the libraries.
Chair, I'd like to move that we approve the resolutions.
I'll second.
Okay, it was motion by Supervisor Campbell and seconded by Supervisor Goldenberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that carries 5-0. Thank you so much. All right, Tanya, you ready to read the next one?
Thank you. Item 11, consideration of adopting Resolution 34-23, proclaiming the week of April 23rd through April 29th, 2023, to be Tuolumne County Crime Victims' Rights Week.
All right. You are live, I believe. Yes.
Good morning, Board. Cassandra Jenneke, your district attorney. Thank you for the opportunity to bring this proclamation before your board today. Our theme for National Crime Victims' Rights Week of 2023 is Survivor Voices, Elevate, Engage, and Affect Change. And every year, this commemorative week calls on our communities to create environments where our survivors have the confidence that they will be heard, believed, and supported as they navigate having been victims of crime. California citizens actually benefit from one of the best examples of elevating survivor voices, and that's through Marcy's Law. Marcy's Law is the strongest and most comprehensive victim rights constitutional scheme that exists in the United States. And that came from a horrible victimization of a family whose sister and daughter's name was Marcy. And in 1983, she was killed by her boyfriend, who, unbeknownst to the family, was arrested and released on bail, who then confronted them in a grocery store, accusing them of lying about him having murdered their daughter. Her brother was a CEO of a national corporation who made it his life's work to support and engage victims and the surviving families, and protect them as they walked through that system. And so in 2008, California, through its voters, passed Proposition 8, which enacted Marcy's Law. Our office at the DA's office and through our Victim Witness Assistance Center works every day to ensure that the rights of victims and crime survivors are upheld. This is incredibly difficult, but absolutely rewarding work. Our team is small, but they are absolutely mighty. So in the 2022 calendar year, we had 3 full-time victim witness advocates working for our office, Dixie Sky, Jan Fuller, and Holly Brown. They served 2,761 victims or survivors of crime and provided over 22,000 services to those individuals. Prior to the COVID pandemic, we would celebrate this week and commemorate our survivors by hosting an annual in-person event. We're getting back to that this year, so we're really excited. We host that in conjunction with Child Abuse Prevention Month and with the partnerships from the Tuolumne Resiliency Coalition and Child Welfare Services. Next week, on Thursday, the 27th, we will be hosting our annual luncheon at Black Oak Casino, and we're really, really excited to have Russell Wilson, a national human trafficking advocate who himself is a survivor of commercial sexual exploitation as a child, come and speak to our community and our service providers. We recognize on your child abuse prevention team and on a lot of our multidisciplinary teams across your criminal justice system that the advent of human trafficking and what it looks like in Tuolumne County is an area that we as service providers can improve on. Improve our awareness and improve the supports that we offer to those victims. So this year we have received monetary and donative services from both of our tribes, for which we are immensely grateful. And this year we'll be honoring 6 victims, several of whom have survived and thrived after being victims of elder financial abuse, child sexual abuse, and domestic violence, and even child homicide. We are so appreciative of those individuals for having the courage to speak out, to be heard, and to participate with us as we successfully prosecuted their offenders. Without their cooperation and continued courage, we would not be able to hold offenders accountable, and we would not be able to protect our community. And so their strength and power is to be commended. Our office doesn't do this alone, though. As I've mentioned before your board, our community is remarkable. The amount of services that we are able to provide to our survivors of crime because of the strong community connections we have is unmatched. And so this year we'll be honoring 11 service providers who have gone above and beyond to serve victims and survivors of crime in Tuolumne County. And if I can, I'll just list them here for you and for our community who might be watching. Jennifer Monson is a nurse at Adventist Health, and she has been basically our one and only sexual assault nurse examiner for the last 2 years for the county. Detective Israel Spear and Sergeant Richard Donaldson, both of the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office, have worked innumerable cases, but several of which have involved very hard cases, very difficult cases, and ones that they have assisted us in being able to seek justice in. From our Sonora Police Department, we have Lieutenant Jennifer Hanula, who came to us from Stanislaus County Sheriff's Office several years ago. Jen came to us with investigative experience working special victim cases and has really blossomed the Sonora Police Department into an organization that values victims and values their input into their cases. Also from Sonora Police Department is Corporal Thomas Brickley. Thomas is one of those frontline guys who's taking reports, working cases, and we always get incredibly positive feedback about his interactions from our victims. California Highway Patrol Officer Elliot Lopez. He's worked innumerable cases for us over the last several years, including several fatalities. He was the investigating officer in the Theodore Young case that we just received a 10-year sentence on last week for the death of Rebecca Gall. And we are incredibly grateful to Elliot for his commitment to victims and the work that he does. Child Welfare Services also brings to us Jennifer Marcocha, who is not only a social worker with that division, but also acts as one of our forensic interviewers for our child abuse cases. Jennifer went to training probably about 18 months ago, and I had the opportunity to observe her first interview. And there are just some folks in life who are gifted with gab and the ability to connect with individuals, and Jennifer is one of those people. And so we're incredibly grateful to have her on our team. From Adult Protective Services, she's now a supervisor, but Melissa McCormick, another one of those people that puts in the time on the ground to make sure that our elders and dependent adults are served in our community. We know that if we have an elder who needs help, we can call Melissa and she will get stuff done that same day. She did that for us actually 3 weeks ago with a case where a gentleman he had all of his money stolen, unfortunately, and couldn't get it back in time to pay his rent. And so Adult Protective Services was out there that same day to support him. From our probation teams, we have Vanessa Ramos from the adult division and then Rachel Stahl from our juvenile division. This is the first time that we've honored 2 individuals from our probation department, and I think that just speaks to how incredible both Vanessa and Rachel are. We have seen a significant increase in victim-based juvenile cases, and so the work that Rachel has done has really just been remarkable for the amount that they're having to contend with. And we consistently get positive feedback about Vanessa from our victims. She's very caring, she's very kind, and she's always focused on having our victims participate in that post-conviction, pre-sentence process of developing a probation recommendation, and we're very grateful for that. And then lastly, we couldn't do this work without our partners at the Center for Nonviolent Community. Tracy Archer is the advocate that we will be honoring from that organization this year. Tracy is one of those ones who responds 24/7 to sexual assault cases in Tuolumne County. She is constantly at court supporting her victims. I see her there all the time, and we're so incredibly grateful for the support that she offers to our survivors and our community at large. So with that, I'll recommend and request that your board pass a proclamation declaring April 23rd through the 29th as Crime Victims' Rights Week in Tuolumne County, and we very much appreciate your attention to this very important topic.
Thank you. Do we have questions from the board for Ms. Janicki? No questions? How about if I go to the public? Any public comment on this item? Hello.
Good morning again. I would just like to say an amazing thank you to this group. I had the blessing of being able to be with a woman that had been, continually abused, and they had her out of the situation into the safe house. That night, they had her on a bus home paid for by the county, and the taxi to go to the bus stop was all paid for, and she was with her daughter the next afternoon. So kudos and blessings, and thank you.
Thanks for your testimony. Anybody else from the audience? All right, I'll bring it back to our board for final comments before voting. We do have a resolution, is that right, on this? Yes. Supervisor Brandon.
Mr. Janicki, thank you for being here and for presenting on this. I really appreciate the work in particular. I like that you brought a lot of the other people we may not see, because obviously when I hear about this, I'm going to be thinking Sunshine House in particular and victim witness. This is something you in particular had introduced and then your predecessor had brought up as well. It wasn't something that is immediately known, I think, that the county operates this. And it's incredibly important because the crime doesn't stop with just a conviction. I mean, you have the victims as well and recovery of that, and make sure it's a humane process that's supporting them. And I appreciate your advocacy on this. I think this is a great opportunity to recognize that, to recognize the folks that you have in your resolution, and that, moving forward, what we can do is kind of the greatest compliment from the board, but also to the public, is how do we find the sustaining revenue to support these things that, aren't always, it's not the going to the court, collecting the evidence, getting the case done, right? But equally, it is just as important of work, even if that is not the core mission. And that's the stuff that we have to invest in, and we have to figure out a way to make sure that we can sustain it, improve it. We know we have an abuse problem, which means that we have an issue with a number of victims and survivors within our county still dealing with that trauma. And we gotta fix that the best that we can as we move forward. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Supervisor Kirk.
I agree with everything Supervisor Brandon said, and thank you for bringing up everybody who's involved, because I think I had a pretty limited idea, even though I work in law enforcement, but there's so many people at the table dealing with these folks. And so thank you guys for what you do and doing it well.
Supervisor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, District Attorney Janicki. I think it's clear that the majority of the effort of the criminal justice system is focused on the perpetrators of crime. And the idea that we can't let the victims be forgotten. And the fact that you have this small but mighty team and that you have come here to name the people that are doing this important, that have this important role of actually serving the victims of the crime, I think is something that we absolutely need to do. And I hope more people are paying attention so that they understand that we have this resource in this community, and it is vital, and it's rare. I've had one family member in particular was a victim of a pretty major crime, and this was years ago in a different county, but none of these resources were available, and I think that it's sad to think about that these resources are available now and they weren't in the past. So I think protecting those and making sure that we have this effort for the victims of the crime and the crimes that are perpetrated in our community, and that they're not forgotten. So thank you for upholding that, and thank you to the team for doing what you do.
Thank you. Supervisor Goldenberg.
Thank you. The 2023 theme, Survivor Voices. Elevate, engage, effect change. Boy, is that ever difficult for the people that are affected, right? They may want to do that, but, through this team effort, you give them the opportunity and support them, which is incredible. I look down here, there's individuals, there's the Sheriff's Office, NORPD, CHP, Behavioral Health Center for Nonviolence. This is truly, a team effort and very difficult. And everything that you do to support folks that are affected is, just truly, appreciated. Thank you.
And I just wanted to add that Tuolumne County isn't a very big county, but for such a small county, we really do have quite a few nonprofits, various organizations who really come together to provide services. And I think Tuolumne County comes out for things like this in a very big way. And I know that you wouldn't be as successful without them. So I just wanted to applaud your whole team and thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, let's see, what do we have? We have a proclamation. So we need to vote on approving the proclamation. And I will entertain a motion. Yes? Oh, it's a resolution. Okay, thank you. Resolution. I'm reading from the agenda. It doesn't say that, so thank you for that correction. And so I will entertain a motion from the board.
With that, I'll move to, we adopt Resolution 3423, proclaim the week of April 23rd through April 29th, 2023 to be Tuolumne County Crime Victims' Rights Week.
I'll second.
Okay, it was moved by Supervisor Brandon and seconded by Supervisor Kirk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are on item number 12. Tanya, would you please read that agenda item?
Thank you. Item 12, consideration of providing direction on the state minimum fire safe regulations and proposed changes to the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code.
And we'll give just a couple of minutes for everybody to kind of assemble here. Let us know when you're ready.
Ready. You guys ready?
We've got the big team here. Nice to see you all.
Good morning. Quincy Ailey, Community Development Department Director. I am joined by a group of esteemed individuals who have all helped and contributed to this item, from our Public Works Director and County Council and our Assistant Director and our Fire Inspector Extraordinaire. Also in the back, we've got additional team members from OES and CAL FIRE. We are here today to do an overview of the Board of Forestry State Minimum Fire Safe Regulations. This item has come before your board several times as we have, as a county, tracked the anticipated changes that the Board of Forestry was going to be making at a state level and how those would impact our county here at a local level. I'm proud to say that our county was very active in that drafting process, both our county staff members, as our board members, as well as our public. So I want to thank everyone because it's input from local individuals like ourselves that help make the product better, which I think we would agree is better. What we've got right now is better than what they had originally proposed. So if you recall, we went from a set of very strict regulations that encompassed a number of regulations around the development and construction of single-family homes and roadways. And we're now at a much narrower set of changes that Tuolumne County will have to follow. In the past, we've been able to have specific local regulations. Those were called in lieu regulations that our county staff negotiated that were specific to Tuolumne County. But initially, when this process kicked off with the Board of Forestry, they said no more in lieu regulations for certain counties. We're going to apply the same standard across the state. So there are a number of areas that I wanted to bring up today, and I'm going to specifically talk about 3 of them, but we can answer questions if your questions go beyond those 3 topics. The main changes that the new regulations address are driveways, setbacks, roadways, strategic ridge lines, and fuel breaks. So I'm going to talk about two of those areas that will require changes in our ordinance code that the respective departments who have authority over those codes will bring back before your board at another meeting. And then I'll talk about the third one, which is you shall, but then there's also some qualifying language in there that that you all isn't clear on that you have to do it and what time frame you have to do that in. So the first one I want to talk about is road standards. The change in our local regulation that will result from the new Board of Forestry is that the roads will now need to be constructed to 75,000 pounds and driveways to 40,000 pounds. This is a change from our existing code, which just is 40,000 pounds straight across the board, and our code is silent on driveways. The reason this change, I'm guessing, was included is that a fire truck is about 35 to 40,000 tons, but the dozers, the heavy equipment that go out on these fires, weighs significantly more. So that will be a change that will need to happen in our Title 11, and I would anticipate that for new development, that would increase the cost of the construction of those roads, just based on the new weight levels that it will have to sustain. The second change in our local code that's being directed by the Board of Forestry Regulations has to do with driveways. Our code right now says that driveways can serve up to 6 parcels. And the change in the language from the Board of Forestry now says a driveway may serve 4 units, essentially. So this is a significant change because, again, of the cost of having to construct a driveway versus having to construct a road, which is wider and has a somewhat of a different construction process. So it will also be a challenge for staff because before we were able just to pull up a parcel map or a recorded map to identify the number of parcels that the proposed driveway was going to be serving, and it was fairly tabletop-ish. Now we're going to need to know a lot more about what's going on those properties, the number of buildings, in order to determine whether or not it needs to be a driveway standard or a roadway standard. And then again, if you're the last parcel at the end of a parcel map, you're the 5th unit, you would have to upgrade the road versus being the 6th parcel. So the road widening and will happen a lot sooner in those processes with these new rules. The last one I just wanted to touch on briefly was the concept of undeveloped strategic ridge lines. This is something where it says that you shall identify strategic ridge lines if you have any. This would be a process that the county would be undergoing with CAL FIRE, and really CAL FIRE would be designating any strategic ridge lines. It would then preclude development from happening on those ridge lines. But there are exceptions that can be made, and those exceptions are outlined in the code, is if your project is going to basically improve the clearing or the fire safety of that ridgeline. So there are exceptions that can be made at the local level, but strategic ridgelines now are becoming a part of that process. So we've all reviewed these and are here to answer any questions you have either on those 3 areas or beyond. And the next steps would be that after today, we would bring back specific ordinance code changes to you based on these new regulations. And so today we're looking to see, is your board basically saying, yes, just do the minimum changes in the ordinance code, or are there additional changes that you would want to suggest beyond the minimum? So it's a quasi presentation / direction opportunity here for you all. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
So questions from the board? Supervisor Campbell.
I'll restrict it to the minimum of what I have many questions, but so how much does it cost to build a driveway that can handle 40,000 pounds of equipment? I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot. You may not have that information because I honestly don't know how much that costs. That's not the way that driveways have ever been built in Tuolumne County.
And we did. We even asked Duke yesterday. Duke, have you got an idea? He
Yeah.
said, I'd have to work this out. So it's going to be obviously a lot more.
Yeah, I would consider a lot more. I mean, I looked it up. So I have a vehicle and my wife has a vehicle. Her vehicle is 4,000 pounds and my vehicle is 6,000 pounds. So, which is pretty heavy, you know, as in terms of a standard vehicle. So 6,000 pounds. And so to build any kind of new additions or new construction on a piece of property, you have to build it to a standard of 40,000 pounds. I don't even know what that looks like. I mean, I would assume you'd have to hire an engineer to design it, and it would have to be built in a very regimented way, correct? I mean, you can't just, the way we build driveways in Tuolumne County is you just you grade it, you hire somebody to grade it, and then you hire somebody to throw some asphalt down, and you're done. But that's not going to be the process anymore, I guess.
So two things. One, so for roadways, we typically have roadways when we're doing parcel maps or subdivision maps. And so roadways are going to come through our Department of Public Works. And yes, they would be there, and they're required to be designed by an engineer now, and they'll be required to be designed by an engineer in the future. So I think from a roadway standard process, the process is very similar. From a driveway standard, that is something that we would, I guess, have to look at in the building permit process, and we would look at it on routing through, I'm going to guess, our building division and our fire prevention division. And Public Works. They're getting tagged. There's a lot of TBD in terms of who's going to do what, because we need to sort of test the system to see what is going to be the best way to review these, and what information are we going to need to have submitted with a building permit to be able to verify that the driveway meets the new regulation. Because right now, we do not look at the construction standards of a driveway. It's usually just two lines drawn on a map, and we go, that sounds great.
But we can come back, though, with estimated costs, so.
Well, I'm just thinking for the consumer end. And, I should have prefaced this, that where we are now in terms of the recommended changes to the ordinance code are so much better than where we were 2 years ago. And so Quincy, I really thank you and Dave Ruby for advocating really strongly and helping this board to advocate strongly on behalf of our residents in this area. Because while some of these regulations, I'll just say it, I think they're probably going to have a negative impact on people's desire to build in our county, which is the opposite of what the state tells us they want us to do. But this one in particular, it just kind of gets me because I have no idea and I don't think most people have any idea what it would cost to build a driveway that can support 40,000 pounds of equipment. Most driveways need to support at most 4 tons,
And Supervisor Campbell, I would just add, though, that there is a provision in the code for exceptions. And so that is something that those exceptions would be given by the local jurisdiction the code tells you where you can make exceptions. And so we would obviously be looking at those where appropriate to apply exceptions.
Okay, that was going to be my other question. So just giving an example, if you already have a driveway, if you already have it lined out and you want to make changes to that driveway, would you have to follow this standard? If the driveway already exists, but let's say it's torn up, or you want to make changes, or you want to make an additional building that the driveway goes to, something like that, is that grandfathered in, or do these regulations apply?
So you made the comment about additions. So they walked back all the provisions on additions in the current iteration. So driveway standards would not need to be met for any additions. If you want to do a bedroom addition or a second story, or if you have a current driveway, you're fine.
Okay. So this is mostly related to bare land. I'm building a house from scratch on a new piece of
single-family
property,
dwelling, new developments.
and I'm
correct.
connecting it to the road with a driveway.
Correct.
Okay.
I will note, however, Supervisor, that is a kind of a point of contention about whether it applies to existing roads, if you're going to be expanding existing roads or building new development off of existing roads or driveways. In the Board of Forestry's final statement of reasons, they included some interpretation that they feel that it does apply to existing roads, but that language is not in the regulations. That's not how the county or most jurisdictions have been interpreting the regulations. And that's one of the points of contention in some ongoing litigation.
Okay. And I'll leave the driveway thing alone, but thank you very much, and it's not totally clear, I think, to any of us, but we'll muddle through. The last question I had was about the road element, which I think, Kim, you kind of spoke to, that it's a little less onerous than the driveway element, but I just want to get a picture. A road like Standard Road, is that built to a point that it could handle 75,000 pound trailer?
Our roads are constructed to 40,000 pounds. And
Okay.
so, but if you think about the weight of a logging truck, which, you know, that could be
Yeah.
about 70,000, this could be a benefit by having the additional weight requirement.
Okay. But that, so
It's
that's,
only bonus.
right. Well, I was just wondering, do we have any roads in the county now that were built at one time to a standard of 75,000 pounds? No? Okay.
Blossom's shaking her head.
Yeah,
So, I
Blossom
mean, if
is
it's not, we
gonna
wouldn't
know.
over-construct, I wouldn't think. So
Yeah.
they have always been set at 40,000.
So that
the state
means
standard.
any road improvement projects we do going forward, and so what does that mean? Does it mean we have to change the underlay of the road? Does it just mean more asphalt?
I don't actually know. I'd have to go and look at it, but I'm guessing it's going to be additional asphalt and additional rock base.
Okay.
So, and then again, I would have to talk to our fire experts on whether it's going to apply to our existing roads when we do a reconstruct.
Okay, so this is, all right. So would it be new roads only or existing roads?
Currently, it's written for new construction, new roads. However, like Cody said, it is in litigation, and the Board of Forestry has said that they want to apply it retroactively, but we're waiting to see on that.
Okay, and so that would even be a road that was just a small, like a cul-de-sac or something like that?
Yeah, so if it's existing, it's, the way we're interpreting this, until there's further clarification, is that it's exempt. We're not going to apply these rules. The rules, the regulations are quasi-clear on when it does apply. And so it talks about new residential, commercial, industrial building construction in our SRA. Then 1991 was a big date. We can get into that another time. So after 1991, new modulars, manufactured homes, mobile homes, so that it applies to those. Applications for building permits, tentative and parcel maps, or other development that we're looking at. So after, anything that's gonna come in now is gonna be looked at. Of note, lot line adjustments are specifically exempted, but re-subdivisions are not. Re-subdivisions is basically you start with 2 parcels, you end with 2 parcels. Super oversimplification of the process. But even those re-subdivisions, when we're not increasing density, are now going to be subject to these regulations. So yeah, new parcels, building permits, road construction, for new roads that don't exist, or an extension of an existing road, so the new component of that road. So really focusing on the new development.
Okay. I have other questions, but I'll leave it there. Thank you.
All right, Supervisor Goldenberg.
Okay, so I think you just answered one of my questions, Quincy, that currently existing, roads, driveways would be exempt, essentially grandfathered in. That's our interpretation.
Yeah, and think of it, if someone's gonna redo their driveway, they're not gonna come to us for a permit for that. So we don't have an intersection, some sort of ministerial or discretionary intersection with that driveway upgrade or repavement or something like that. So we're gonna be looking at permits that come through our office.
Okay, so I'm not seeing it in here, but it's long been a concern in the fire service, is we've got a lot of small bridges going into properties. And so when they're addressing roadways and talking about 40,000 pounds versus 75,000 pounds, how the heck are we dealing with that situation? Because it, and this is an existing thing as well as, when we look at new construction, because that's a specialized area. And in the past, I've heard, from some of people that I worked with, well, if a propane truck can go in there fully loaded, that's pretty heavy. We look at some of the fire apparatus, most of our apparatus is not that heavy, but Sonora City's truck, company ladder truck, which is under mutual aid agreements, right? And are we looking at that and addressing that? Is it included anywhere within this?
So yeah, any component of a new driveway would need to meet the new weight requirement. So before, you might have been able to get through with a 10-inch culvert and just slapped it down in the creek. That's going to be something down that we're going to have to look at through the building permit process. Is any small bridges, culverts, other crossings, they're going to need to be engineered to a higher level, which is going to drive costs. This is, Supervisor Goldenberg, as you all know, this is a balance between growth and development and the need to have firefighters get into these areas in a safe manner and get individuals out. It's a difficult balance to, kind of where you fall on the spectrum, but certainly this will add costs to future development.
Absolutely, but we also have to be concerned for the safety of our, first responders, that are going in. Thank you.
Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. Just for the public's benefit and anybody watching with this too, and I just want to take a moment to reflect on how stupid it is that we have to make driveways that can hold bulldozers that can go through the forest and all kinds of things, and that's the standard where all of that money would be taken out of what could go to actual fire hardening and actual fuel reduction, because I share Supervisor Campbell's concerns of how much that would cost on the average homeowner. I wanted to ask if you could maybe give a little recap of our advocacy to date. This has been a long-running issue. It's not just coming before this board right now. Can you explain kind of our part and who we've been working with?
Sure. So I think this started with Dory Beats and our team looking at these new fire safe regulations and we started tracking these regulations, I want to say 2 years ago, about 2 years ago. We've been before your board a number of times because it was very different. The proposed regulations were very different from what we had here locally. And if you recall, our fantastic GIS department and Dave Ruby had done a presentation kind of showing you where we thought we were going to take some hits on availability of land to put new development in. We have had enough, I'll just going to throw a number out and say a dozen calls with the Board of Forestry, some of them in groups with some of our supervisors, some of them just me and Mrs. Hannigan battling it out on the phone. A number of us have participated in our professional organizations in presentations with the Board of Forestry and a back and forth question and answer on that. I know that I have and Cody has too. And to the point where I know Supervisor Half was ready to send a charter plane to get one of the Board of Forestry members to bring her up here so we could show her what the proposed changes kind of would do to a county like ours. So Supervisor Brandon, I think that, and I can't forget our constituents who wrote in numerous letters to the Board of Forestry to the extent that they replied to me to ask our constituents to stop sending them letters, to which, of course, I said I wouldn't do that.
Great. Love that. I want to ask too, we have two different definitions of driveways in our code. We've got driveways shared, community, whatever it is. Common, that's the one. And then regular driveways, I think that was the common definition of the six. Does it apply equally to both? Are we just merging those and there's only now one type of driveway? It's just...
I'm not seeing I'm not seeing a different standard. I'll save you the walk. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, I agree with Kim. I think that in your review is the same as mine. We're not seeing a different standard. Versus like you've identified different standards now.
Right. And then for the Ridgeline, what's proposed is the idea of having a new zoning. Curious, why would it be a new zoning as opposed to something like O or O1 open space designation that seems to cover it?
Supervisor Brandon, I am not sure what the what the vehicle will be for strategic ridgelines in terms of whether it would be an overlay zoning district, a new zoning district, some sort of other hazard designation like the CAL FIRE medium, high, very high severity fire zone. So I'm not exactly sure what that will look like. I'm guessing that other communities will go before us in terms of designating that, and we'll kind of see what the options are. Also, it might be that the local jurisdiction has no authority over that, and CAL FIRE will just choose how they're going to designate strategic ridgelines, and we will comply.
Okay. And then I want to share the attention around too to Cody there.
Please.
So, looking up like effectively a public takings, I mean, where they're coming in and a vacant parcel suddenly has far less value than it used to have for any type of development, and the impacts, I mean, county-wide. What it seems to me is potentially that there would be inverse condemnation, that they're making a decision that so profoundly affects the value of that land without just adequate compensation, that they, even though they're not technically taking it, I mean, restricting the use so severely is the same thing. Is there any type of potential there for these property owners to have a legal remedy, or the county, or any type of liability in that decision?
A takings claim against the Board of Forestry. I'm seeing, that, I haven't looked at that closely, but generally a takings claim would require a, complete devaluation of the property, or near complete devaluation of the property. Adding these additional restrictions, I think, would be probably a bit of a stretch, but I would leave that to individual property owners if they wanted to pursue that and explore that possibility. But I think it would be a bit of a stretch.
Okay. The chief had a question as well. I wanted to ask if we, you mentioned what can we do in addition to this, and I think it is a good time to have the conversation. Some of these seem really dumb. They don't seem like they're really accomplishing something that's really beneficial. It's not to say, though, there aren't other things that we can do in excess that are, reach codes beyond what the state is requiring when it comes to fire safety. I wanted to ask if we have any exploration of that, what other building codes or planning things that we could use, especially when it's saying, if we can find an alternative that does the same thing, we might be able to give an exception. We need to have a list of alternatives.
Excuse me.
Thank you, Supervisor Brandon, for the question. There are, you'll notice in the setback section, it does refer to some practical effect exceptions that apply, specifically to the Chapter 7A wildland urban interface construction requirements that allow for the reduced setback from the 30-foot. Speaking specifically to building codes beyond what is the minimum standard, we have not reached out to anything. They were very specific inside of the body of this standard as to what exceptions they would allow for, and even going as far as saying putting a 5-foot concrete wall around your structure. So beyond that, there are none that we currently have proposed, but of course we are open to any suggestions that you all might have to pursue.
And I would add, Supervisor Brandon, so you asked, building code and planning. So from a planning standpoint, I would say that our planning department, we're barely keeping up with the regulations that are coming out of Sacramento right now in terms of general plan update requirements, specifically to like our safety element, or the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan that we have and the changes that happen to that. So I would say we're barely keeping up with the minimum that we're required to do in terms of incorporating into our regulations. If the county wanted to explore beyond that, I would say that would be a separate project that the board would give direction on, and that we would, either get staff or a consultant to engage in. Some of the things from a planning perspective were in the climate action plan. There was some language in there regarding fire hazards and fire mitigation. And so those are areas where, as we get funding and, we are applying for grants, we've got one in right now, where we can kind of look at where from a climate action plan angle, we can get funds to explore ideas on alternatives, same practical effect alternatives beyond kind of what our current scope of alternatives is right now.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Kirk.
I don't have any questions. Are we just doing comments?
Questions?
No questions. I'll make a comment at the end.
All right, I do have a couple of questions. My first one's kind of, I don't know if it's rhetorical or not, but what I have heard from the attorney that we have from RCRC is that there's existing language in the Board of Forestry regs that is now being reinterpreted differently than it was before. So what it meant before, same words, means something different now. Is that true? Have you seen this?
Yes, Supervisor Haff, that is part of the claim that RCRC is working on right now. It's going through litigation in Fresno Superior Court. That in the final statement of reasons, the Board of Forestry basically included this interpretation of a language that was already existing in the code and didn't follow. The claim is from RCRC that they didn't follow the Administrative Procedures Act. And that that interpretation is non-enforceable regulation. So we'll have to see how that pans out in the court. But that language interpreting, the language hasn't changed in the regulations itself. And that's regarding the existing.
Yeah, it's kind of screwy. So then my question becomes, when do we anticipate this lawsuit finalizing? Do we have any idea?
You know, I checked in on the current status actually this morning with Mr. Wyleen. They had filed an amended petition in January of this year. Board of Forestry hasn't responded, and so we don't really know when it will resolve, but it should be moving along.
So I don't want to waste efforts for the county based upon what we just talked about. When do we expect to have to put all of this into our ordinance code, and can we put it off until this lawsuit is resolved?
Well, these regulations went into effect April 1st, so we really should have these in the ordinance code as soon as possible, these changes. We need to comply with the state law in setting the minimum of what we need to do. If the court rules, the court's ruling is not going to affect the language in our ordinance code. It's really going to affect how we implement
How you
the
interpret
ordinance
it?
code.
Okay. Okay, this is worrisome because I don't want to cause the county to go through all of the gyrations to, because it's massive, to put this into our ordinance code just to find out, oh, well, maybe
Supervisor
the lawsuit would overturn that.
One other thought is, this is in trial court, and remember that there's always the ability for one party that loses to appeal to the, appellate court, and so that could take years.
Okay.
So from our perspective, it would be prudent of the county to follow the minimum state requirements, and then should the law change, we'll certainly bring that back to your board and consider, modifications.
Okay, thank you. I feel it's a waste, especially if they prevail, but that's my own personal comment. So in timelines then, and specifically with the strategic ridge lines that, thank you for answering my questions, by the way, those of you who did. When do we expect these strategic ridge lines to be identified? Would that be within a year's time, longer, less, just kind of broad strokes here?
Well, it would be just a shame if Andy didn't get to come up and answer this question, because he did tell me he was here to help.
Well, he's already helped by leading in the Pledge of Allegiance. You want
He
more
has.
help?
He's such a helper.
Okay.
So, I mean.
Oh, looks like Nick is going to take his place.
Okay, well, it would be such a shame if Nick didn't come up and answer this
Nick,
question.
come on
Yeah.
up to the podium.
And I'm here to, if you have questions for me, Nick, on this, I'm here for you.
Good morning. Is it still morning?
Good morning.
Morning,
Yes,
members of
it
the
still
board.
is.
Could you restate the question?
Well, I was wondering about the undeveloped strategic ridge lines, and I understand that they're not identified right now, but that CAL FIRE will work with us, or maybe do this alone, to identify those that need to be identified. And I know this can take some time. Do you have any timeline for that? Or if you don't, your best guess.
I don't have a timeline for that. Excuse me. Also, I haven't received any direction to give to the units that we are required to do that. As the former unit chief for Tuolumne Calaveras unit and the former fire chief for Tuolumne County Fire, I would need to be told specifically that that is a requirement that we have to do. I would be a little apprehensive to do that unless ordered to do so.
Okay, thank you. And some of you know why I asked that, and I just want to say publicly that I have a constituent in the South County who has quite a bit of property, I don't know how many acres, and he has already put in a well and I believe a septic for future plans for on the ridge line of where this property is that can't be necessarily rerounded. It's already in process. So I just want to make sure for people like him who have put a lot of money already into development of their property, but they're just not there yet as far as building the home where the site has been planned. What can we tell people like that? And I don't care who answers, just...
I asked if they wanted me to answer it, and they all enthusiastically said, sure.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw the
They
enthusiasm
went,
there.
You sucker, you take this answer. I think that the best answer I can give is that when we receive a building permit, we will process it under the rules at the time of the building permit. It's often why we have huge rushes in building permits prior to changes in regulations. So any building permit that we get now, we will process within accordance of the rules as we know it, which at this time does not include strategic ridgelines. If and when those that extra layer of it's not really, it's basically like no build. I mean, it's not even scrutiny. I mean, it's basically saying you can't build there. If and when that happens, you know, we would be working with our property owners to let them know about that. There are exceptions that can be granted, but just because you own a piece of property on a strategic ridgeline right now and it's vacant doesn't mean that the regulations would not apply to you. So that to a property owner, I would envision would be troublesome.
Yeah, okay.
And Quincy noted it, but I did just want to emphasize that even if it is identified as a strategic ridgeline, we can grant exceptions if there's going to be grading that kind of modifies the topography to eliminate the risk.
Okay, great. Yeah, I know that I heard that such as clearing projects, and he's already done massive clearing projects, so that might be enough to give him an exception. I just wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. We all know because we've been talking about it. And I think that ends my questions. So I will bring this to the public now to see if anybody from the public has any comments on the Board of Forestry regulations.
Still morning?
Still morning.
Good morning, Board. David Wynn, former county assessor. I really enjoyed what Supervisor Brandon said. I think it is a form of inverse condemnation. Excuse me. The thing that concerns me, and concerned me when I was assessor dealing with the State Board of Equalization, and they were elected. State Board of Forestry, they're not even elected. And they make these stupid rules that affect people's lives hugely. Oh, well, what the heck? You know, because, I mean, what, 100,000 pounds instead of 80,000 pounds? Or, you know, it's sort of a subjective number to begin with. And what a basis to put these kind of rules and regulations into place? Wait, come on, let's look at a broader base, broader thinking, some critical thinking on how to solve some of these problems that don't become more and more part of the bureaucracy that's destroying, you know, our freedoms, our ability to be property owners. In my opinion, a lot of these rules that come out of the Office of Administrative Law and some of these unelected boards, they're probably all constitutional, but nobody ever has the time and the money to take it that far. I'm just saying, tell the state to go to hell sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for final comments. Supervisor Kirk?
Thank you for sharing our frustration. Like Quincy said, we've been at this for, I don't know, a couple of years, and yeah, we told them, come to Tuolumne County, see what your, the best response I got was, oh, we never even considered the rural counties. It's like, really? So yeah, it's been a frustrating process, and it's definitely better than where we were, but I agree. I love the comment, critical thinking. I love to take all that time and money and energy and put it towards more fuel breaks and calculating emissions in our forests so we could clean our forests out and get logging back. And there's so many other things we could do to make Tuolumne County more fire safe instead of worrying about how much a truck weighs driving to your house to put out a fire. When we have ordinances and things in place for vegetation maintenance and firewise communities and several projects, like, yeah, so I get it. It's frustrating. The biggest thing right now on the table, Quincy and Kim, that concerns, a lot of things concern me, but especially with some of the road projects, you know, is if they do go back and they apply those standards, you know, what does if we're gonna fix Tuolumne Road North for a mile or two, how much would that, you know, make a mile worth? Now we can only do a quarter mile. So there's some projects that, you know, that we're working on that I'm concerned about if that'll change, but nothing ever moves fast. So thank you guys for being here, and those are just my comments.
Thank you. Supervisor Campbell, you need some time? Supervisor Goldenberg.
Okay, so we've got a situation here, obviously. The Board of Forestry is putting these things into effect. They've had a lot of public comment. We may not agree with the ramifications it has to the county, our road system, to private property owners. But I do believe, truly, that when they put these things into effect, they didn't just pull them out of a hat and say, well, we're going to do this, right? They were based on knowledge, right? They were based on situations, you know, where, you know, intending, you know, to protect the public, protect the first responders. Do I like it? No. But, you know, we do need to look at the law and you know, comply. And we're looking at changing code here. Without having grandfathering, right? You know, grandfathering certainly helps, right? It doesn't protect for future development and the cost associated with that. It can be extremely high. I get it. But these are things that are done, you know, for protection. And a lot of the laws that came about, Public Resources Code 4290, 4291, same thing. People, they fought that, they hated it. It created problems, but it's for the protection. We talk about inverse condemnation. Yeah, that's a concern, but that's a legal issue, right? That's not, you know, one that we, you know, the government takes private property and, but they're not compensating. I'm not sure that really applies in this case. You know, again, that would be a legal issue that, you know, would require further investigation. All I'm saying is that we may not be pleased with this. We've been, you know, having multiple supervisors and discussions, you know, with the Board of Forestry, but it's still there, right? You know, we can't just ignore it. So, anyways, that's my comments.
Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. A lot of thoughts on it. We've had a lot, obviously, in discussions for quite a while, especially where we're talking that it's a lot of state and federal responsibility areas and management of those lands that really has put us into the position we are in today. And none of us here created that. All of us here are trying to work within that difficult situation. I'd agree that we have to push back on this. And I tried to simplify these into kind of three specific things. There's one that I think we can make work for us. I do have some hesitation a bit on the ridgeline zoning, but I look at something like that as saying that might be a good idea that also could be joint with say, recreation of some type, even a trail system, whatever it is. We've talked about that broadly, about fuel reduction projects. Is there a way to make it part of our economic development so it's creating funds to continue supporting it? And so it's not just something that takes this out of our use, but it's able to make it, you know, an additive kind of thing. But I would want to make sure that emergency communication towers, wireless communication facilities, there are some things that really need to be potentially, you know, on ridge tops that would still be protected. Sounds like there would be exceptions for that, but just being mindful of those types of things. I think we should also explore some of these alternatives, and I don't mean a full deep dive in writing all the ordinance, but having a list of things we might be able to change. I'm no expert on all the building codes with it, but, you know, are we requiring for permits, you know, having spark quenching vents or anything like that? Are we requiring those types of reach things that we say, you know, these are great ideas. They're not a terrible burden. I think actually those are very smart things people should be doing, and that's where we could have an impact. But where we come to something where the state is bearing down on us and the people that we represent, I think we do have to push back. And the answer is not going to be absolutely they're liable. It might be, no, they're absolutely not. Here's the case. If it's anywhere in between those, and we have any type of a case, I think we should explore with our other county partners, city partners, especially the rural counties, about whether there is a case here. Take for a second to consider if 30% increased in costs to go from a 40,000 standard to a 70, or a 40,000 pound standard to a 70,000 pound standard just on our roads. I'm just taking a guess. That is $60 to $120 million based on the current today road repair estimates to get them up, you know, to good. That's a huge impact on taxpayers. If we're talking about housing and economic development on projects for these parcels, that's a huge impact on property taxes. And then if you look at the, you know, local neighborhoods, people who may have speculated and bought these properties, this is not a, you know, it's going to cost you a little bit extra on waste management to do an organic fee. As annoying as that is, you know, they probably have the authority with it. This is something that could cost somebody tens of thousands of dollars or $100,000. I mean, it could make effectively some properties impossible to develop and completely destroy the value if they're at the end of a half-mile road, right? Road, driveway. They're not going to be able to repave that. We know what the costs look like on those types of construction works. So I would recommend we look at the ridgeline issue and see how can we make that work for us in a positive community benefit. I know when we used to have the Chapter 11, the Recreation Parks and Rec element, it talked about a master plan for recreation. It talked about interconnected trail systems. I think that's something that we really should explore. I think we should bring back some items of what we can do to change. And I think the Fire Safety Advisory Committee would be the appropriate place. And I have been looking for somebody. It's just very difficult. All the great people are super busy, right? Which is why they're so great. And the last bit is explore if there's any liability, if there's any way to consider some type of a class action and look at any legal remedies for this, because this will have a huge financial impact on our county. I bet a lot of other rural counties are in the same position. I don't think we're going to go up, be Mr. Smith ourselves and fight the machine in Sacramento. But I agree, we have to push back. And it's not as simple as, well, they're using the best science and the best way to apply the best regulations. It's inherently always a political process. It's always a bunch of forces pushing on each other of how that got there. What science did they use? Who's at the decision-making table? And as Dave pointed out, it's not an elected board. So I think we need to be one of those forces pushing on that. We've already been a very loud one in advocacy, and maybe it's time to take it to that next level. So,
Supervisor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm sure by now those of you listening or in the audience have perceived the frustration that we have on the board. And just to kind of give a little bit of a background on why that is, it's that the county is constantly being put in the position of having to be the bad guy, because while we're having this discussion now, and I think we're all aware that that this is something that's being imposed on the county to carry out the decisions that were made, as others have said, by an unelected Board of Forestry. And I'm sorry to the CAL FIRE guys here. I know that they're in a tough spot, so you can plug your ears if you want. But the end user, 5 years, 10 years down the road, they're going to be coming to the community development department, asking for permits and asking to develop the property in the way that they would like to. And it's the county that's going to be the person that has to give them the bad news that they can't do that. And so from the end user's perspective, it's the county that's causing all these problems, and it's the county that's difficult to work with, and it erodes the community's trust in us and the work that we do in local government. And so it's taking these ideas that are created in Sacramento and putting it into the county to carry out, and it makes it really difficult to do our jobs. And I think when people come to me and they say it's hard to build in Tuolumne County, it's hard to do business here, I ask them specifically, okay, what are the things that you find difficult? And almost 99% of the time, it's state or federal regulations that the county is forced to carry out and enforce. It's not it's not regulations initiated by the county itself. So Quincy's got an extremely hard job, for anybody that doesn't know, because she's the one that has to give people the bad news all the time that they can't necessarily do the things they want. So I'll get off my soapbox on that, but it's just that's the reason why I think you're perceiving the frustration here, is because we all know what this is going to do for our ability to do our job as a community government. It's going to make it harder for us. And for, not to mention the folks out there who want to, build driveways. So going to the specifics of what you have here, you've mentioned a number of different things: setbacks, strategic ridge lines, driveways, roadways, fuel breaks, that type of thing. I think on the setbacks, we'll just get that out of the way early on. I think it's consistent with what we're already doing in the county. So that one I think is a pretty easy, just, check the box on that, because we're already doing most of what the Board of Forestry is pushing for, and so we can just agree with that. And then again, on strategic ridge lines, I think Supervisor Brandon said it pretty well. There's still a lot to be understood about that and how they're going to be identified. So I would definitely delay making a firm decision on that until we know more. But I absolutely think that we should be a part of that conversation. The fuel breaks, that confuses me because, we have already, through great effort, communicated with our community and developed our vegetation ordinance. And, we just had a presentation on wildfire preparedness week. And I think other supervisors have mentioned all the wonderful things that we're doing in our community to be active in encouraging people to do fuel breaks on their own, getting people resources, having public projects that do fuel breaks. We're go-getters when it comes to fuel breaks, so I don't think necessarily that we need to be told to do more work in that regard. I think we're doing as much as we possibly can. And then the last is the driveways and roadways. I think you probably already know how I feel about that. It's taking projects that might be reasonable and cost-effective to build and making them not cost-effective anymore. So it's a de facto ban on development in certain areas, or at least it makes it much more expensive. So you're not going to get the kind of cheaper housing that we need all spectrum of housing in our county, but you're pretty much just saying only people with the money to build a really, really nice house with a really, really nice driveway are going to be able to build in Tuolumne County in the future. And that's not the community I want. I want to see a community where you have working people in all spectrums of what makes a community great. But on that, what can we do about it? How can we advocate for that? And I also wanted to preface that as bad as it is, it's a hell of a lot better than it was 2 years ago when they were effectively banning any kind of driveway beyond a certain length in our county. Is there much that can be done? I mean, I guess leveraging, you said that there might be kind of wiggle room and strings that we can pull to make it easier to get these things through. Is that the right path? What's strategically the right way to approach it?
So I think, first of all, I appreciate your comments. Thank you. My job is very hard. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that your question is, what can we do? It underscores the importance of what this regulation calls the local jurisdiction, which is our county. And so it what your question is, what can we do? We can continue to work collaboratively with our fire prevention folks who are in our office, with our public works team just downstairs, with the building division. So I think the solution is the local jurisdiction continuing to collaborate, have the freedom to be creative, to come up with new ideas and new solutions. And then I think that the partner in that is really the other folks in our county who are doing those larger fire projects like you mentioned. So I think attacking it from both sides, that's really what I would prescribe. I'll save one more comment, but it really is an issue of state regulations coming down into our local community and presenting challenges that a urban community or a small valley community would not face.
And thank you for that, and I agree with that approach. So that's my recommendations on the specifics of what you're asking for. And that's my comments. Thank you, Chair.
Great, thank you. And before I have my comments, Quincy, did you have something else to say?
Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity to make sure I highlight to your board that this will have a financial impact on our county, and that all of our departments may be coming to you, because if it takes longer to process building permits because we have to review them it's going to take us longer to review. We would have to then increase fees because we're going to be spending more staff time on that. And if the county wants us to continue to process those expeditiously, we need more staff to do it. And so, and it seems like it should be a 1-for-1, fees equals staff. It doesn't quite work out that way. But I just want to make your board aware that as these regulations are implemented, plus others that now the other regulations that come down that we have to look at, there is a direct impact onto the building permit process. And, we're kind of at a sweet spot with our staff, but depending on how much attention needs to be given to these building permits, we may need more resources. That's sort of the acute impact. The chronic impact is that this is another state regulation that our county is being handed, and it does go to some of the comments that the public and you all made when we got our RENA numbers. And I think the comment was something like they're trying to drive people out of the foothills. And so this is another state regulation that requires our staff to have the power of creativity to figure out how are we going to preserve our way of life up here in the county, and be able to maintain our lifestyles without being herded down to the valley. That takes, again, staffing resources. And so as we have to battle these state rules and figure out how do we apply them to Tuolumne County without changing Tuolumne County, the culture of our county, that takes time and energy and resources. And so I just want to make sure your board is aware of that. Just like any other department, when new rules get slapped on us that we have to enforce, it takes more staff to do that.
All right, so my comments, I've got them scrawled all over this paper, but I know we're supposed to provide you with direction today, and I don't know, I'm going to start right here. And I know there were problems with the administrative process by the Board of Forestry, and that's why there's a lawsuit right now. I'm hoping that eventually that suit prevails. But I feel, like many of us here in this room, that the Board of Forestry is holding us at the local level, at the county, hostage with their policies. And I like what Supervisor Campbell said about the approach being local jurisdictional collaboration for new ideas and solutions. I think that's the way we do business here in Tuolumne County. I'd like to see that continue. So my question, I know there's another question here, is what happens if we just say no? We can't afford to do this kind of stuff and take on new staff. We cannot afford it. So I don't know if this is a legal question or what, but what happens if we just say, no, I'm sorry, you're not providing us with the resources, and we cannot do this without that?
Well, this is state law, so this is a legal mandate.
Yeah.
These regulations are interpreting 4290. If we do not comply with the state law, there could be potential liability if there were, a fire or somebody were harmed, and we granted a permit to build something that's not up to the current standards. There could be some potential liability against the county. We really don't have the option to not comply with state law.
That's what I mean. They're holding us hostage. It's an unfunded mandate. I'm tired of this. I'm just done. Sarah, do you have anything else to add as far as our...
I understand your frustration. I wish we could give you a different answer. We are going to continue to look, because we work really closely with RCRC and their council, also with CSAC, and we'll continue to look at options for whether or not there's any viable litigation and keep your board updated on that. But I am concerned if your board does not direct staff to start implementing these regulations, that the county then could be liable, because we've seen in other jurisdictions where incidents have happened, people get harmed, and the county or the city has not implemented a code or enforced it. And that could end up being, millions of dollars depending on an injury. So from our perspective, as frustrating as it is, we would recommend that you proceed with adopting the minimum standards, and then let us continue to work with our other neighboring jurisdictions or the entire state to figure out if there's other viable options to consider.
And have they given us a timeline where these local ordinances need to be in place?
The regulations are active now. They came into effect April 1st. So these are the requirements, the legal requirements now. There's no timeline for when we need to have our local ordinance code in place, but we need to be operating under the state regulation requirements, and that should be reflected in our ordinance code as soon as possible.
So basically there aren't, but we're expected to hurry up and get them on the books.
It's not unlike any other, I'm sure this happens very infrequently, that our ordinance code is out of date with state law. Very infrequently. But, like our ADU ordinance, the state's constantly making changes, and our ordinance code lags behind sometimes. And so, that's an extra challenge for our staff to make sure we're juggling two sets of books. So we do want to make these changes as soon as possible.
All right.
I'd like to make a final comment, if I
Sure,
could.
go ahead. Supervisor Goldenberg.
Again, I'm not pleased with any of this, right? But I do understand reasons behind it. There's lawsuits pending, which could take a substantial amount of time. This already went into effect April 1st, right? So we're not much of a choice here, right? A county can be more stringent, but we can't go less than what the state law says. One thing at the very least, I would say, is that we provide direction for staff to create the language to change our current ordinance, to have that in place while we look at this a little bit further, but at least get that in motion, that we're working on it. If we just ignore it, then I think we're putting ourselves in a very precarious position.
I'm not seeing that we need to take a vote on this. Have you gotten enough direction from our board at this point, or do you need clarification?
No, I think we do have enough information. We wanted to bring this to you in two steps so that we could have this discussion, and then when we bring the changes back, you'll understand why they're there. And so those will be in Title 11 and Title 15, and hopefully on a future agenda as soon as possible.
All right. Thank you. Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. I wanted to just revisit one thing that I had heard other support for, but not everybody had weighed in on. What can we do if we say no? What we can do is potentially litigate. And I think the issue is when this is presented to every single city or county board or council, they're gonna have the same discussions. Well, we're not sure if there's exactly a vulnerability, we're just kind of one. And it may just take one stepping forward to say that we would like to actively investigate whether there is potential. And I know that there are ongoing conversations, as council mentioned, related to just with RCRC's lawyers and everything. I would recommend at that same meeting and in between now and then, we would reach out to our other county colleagues, RCRC in particular, with the intent of investigating whether we should explore litigation beyond the kind of ongoing discussions of whether they can or can't. I think that's the option, and I think we could potentially become a county leader in it, because this isn't the first and it won't be the last effectively unfunded mandate, but it certainly seems to be the biggest, most expensive one so far, and we've been fighting it for 2 years.
All right, well, thank you so much for your presentation. I hope the community has been enlightened by what you've had to say and what the county has to deal with. And with that, we will close for lunch and be back at 1:30. There you are.
Good afternoon, Kim McFarland, Director of Public Works.
And I'm sorry, but before we proceed, can we open the public hearing?
Oh, this is a public hearing.
It is.
I missed that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks, Cody.
I now open the public hearing.
Proceed as normal? Yeah, okay. The California Streets and Highways Code, Section 2006, requires that the Board of Supervisors appoint a qualified person who is a registered civil engineer to be the road commissioner of the county. The Streets and Highways Code directs no person shall be appointed road commissioner until the Board of Supervisors holds a public hearing on the qualifications of the candidate. As it turns out, we could not find a resolution appointing a current road commissioner, and so to ensure legal compliance with the California Streets and Highways Code, it is recommended that your board formally appoint one. Being a registered civil engineer and currently serving as a Public Works Director, I am qualified. So if anyone has any questions, I'll go right into the recommendation. It's kind of awkward being up here doing this, so.
Yeah, you don't have somebody to, introduce you.
Blossom offered, quite honestly, but yeah, thanks. Thank you. Thank you in the back. So does anyone have any questions, or should I go right into the recommendation? Okay.
Go ahead.
No, we're good? Okay. So it is recommended that your board appoint Kim McFarland, the Public Works Director, as the Road Commissioner for the County of Tuolumne pursuant to California Street and Highways Code, Section 2006.
Before I ask for board questions, can you explain what advantage this will give us that we haven't had since Peter Rye was the commissioner? Thank you.
Yeah, so we have not taken advantage here in this county of the road commissioner 30% authority. We could have been doing in-house work by force account under the public contract code had we been declaring these projects, and 30% of the previous year's work outside of maintenance. So that adds up to about $700,000 that we could have been doing in-house. So it is an advantage, and we have been sort of learning as we go. I think some knowledge was maybe lost when we were the CRA because you didn't have a licensed engineer overseeing public works.
Great. And so I will ask the board if they have any questions of Ms. McFarland.
What do you know about roads?
Supervisor Brandon? That's a joke, right? Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Supervisor Kirk, did you have a question?
Will this help with North Tuolumne Road and the road being closed down?
Okay, yeah, we're hearing yes.
No,
in the
I'm
back.
serious because I'm driving down to Turlock to take my son to soccer practice, and they just replaced a drain down there because it was an emergency, and I have people frantic about. So why? Can you get it done now that you're the?
We are working as fast as we can. The road commissioner unfortunately has nothing to do with that because we are under an emergency declaration right now, and we're operating as fast as we can. So
If I go there with a backhoe and tear it all up, then will it qualify for a different emergency and then get it
no,
fixed?
Unfortunately, yeah. So Tuolumne Road North,
If I blow it
we'll
up,
give you an
anything?
update. It's going to be a while. I'm sorry.
Sorry, and I'm not trying to be funny. I'm serious because with fire season coming, and I don't get how there's so many other emergency things being fixed, but that this road's gonna take them so long. It's
So there is, we had the drillers out, and I think they're still out this week. But they're taking core samples, and I know a lot of people don't understand, there is a lot of engineering involved. We don't just lay down rock base and then asphalt. I mean, there's something going on under there. And so we may have to do some sort of stabilization. Blossom can probably give us a better update in the next item when we're talking about the continuing the emergency
Oh, I'll bring it up then.
Okay,
Perfect.
okay.
Thank you.
Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah, well, thank you, Kim. And so, just so I understand, so we had that issue a couple years ago on Rawhide, I think it was Rawhide Road, right? Where we were trying to
Oh,
do.
and Chicken Ranch? Chicken Ranch Road?
Was it Chicken Ranch Road where we were trying to do in-house work and an overlay?
Yes.
This would resolve that kind of an issue in the future, right?
Well, and just
Well, not that there wasn't an issue
There
because.
wasn't an issue because we resolved it.
Yeah.
And you can only do in-house if you don't declare the projects less than an inch of asphalt overlay.
Okay.
And that then is considered not a public project, but maintenance work. And so there was a dispute whether we used more than an inch on that particular road. What this does is it gives us a lot more flexibility where our force account, the road crews could go out and they could do a 2-inch overlay on Chicken Ranch or whatever road we choose with board approval, provided that we declare the projects ahead of time and it falls within that cap of whatever it is, the 30% from the year before.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So I'm all in favor of this.
I am too, and
Supervisor Goldenberg.
I was just going to tell Supervisor Kirk, nice try, but anyway, so this is good, to get this formalized because it truly can save the county money. So thank you.
All right, I'll go to the public now, see if there's any public comment on this appointment agenda item.
Well, I support this because I don't think Kim has enough to do.
Any other member of the public wishing to speak? All right, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for final comments. Anybody have one?
I'll make a motion if we're ready.
Sounds like we're ready. Go ahead.
Move on staff recommendation.
Second.
Go ahead.
All right, so
Thank you,
I
Kim.
heard a motion by Supervisor Kirk and a second by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries 5-0.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Road Commissioner. All right, where are we? Item 13, Tanya, would you please read that?
Thank you. Item 13, determine there is a need to continue the emergency actions ordered by the county administrator as a result of a series of storms from December 27th, 2022 through January 31st, 2023, and February through March 2023. The authority of 22050 and Tuolumne County Ordinance Code 3.22.060. 4/5 vote required.
All right. Who's taking the lead?
I am going to take the lead one more time. I'm hoping this will be the last time we have to be here, although our road superintendent did tell us that he's discovered new damage, so I'm not sure. So Kim McFarland, Director of Public Works, and with me is Blossom Scott-Heim, our supervising engineer, and Dory Beats, our OES coordinator. The memo for this item provides the evidence to continue the emergency action. As I just mentioned in the last item, geotechnical evaluations are ongoing on Old Priest Grade, Tuolumne Road North, Buchanan, Wards Ferry Road, and Italian Bar, with core sampling, drilling, and the engineering division is working with outside consultants on repairs. Unfortunately, the 3 roads that are closed, it could be months before they open, and we're flying full force, but it's not because of funding. I know there's been a lot of questions about that in social media. We are moving forward trying to get these roads open, and they are highest priority. The estimates haven't changed much from the last time that we reported out at the last board meeting, about $26 million in road repairs. And I would just say that we are finding new damages because the ground is still saturated. Blossom, did you want to add anything to that? No more bad news? No. Dory? Any questions from the board?
I had one brief one.
Supervisor Goldenberg.
I'm sorry. Yeah. With the recent changes in some of the declarations and FEMA, do we still have a county match that we're going to have to do on this?
Yes.
Is that like 25% or what is that match?
Actually, I'm going to get Blossom to confirm one road is a little bit different.
The majority of the roads are, our match is 6.25%. Arterials and major collectors actually are not fixed under FEMA, but rather FHWA, and our match on those is 11.47. So Tuolumne Road North, Longway Road, Rawhide Road, the biggies.
So do we, just kind of a follow-up to that, and we may be discovering more damage, right? I understand. Have we calculated out rough estimates and what it's going to cost the county with these matches described?
We're looking at about $850,000 in match for the first storms and just under $1 million for the second set of storms.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board questions?
Yeah, quick question. And sorry, this was posed to me by a constituent, but it was a legit question. I didn't know how to answer it because I know we're doing core samples for these closed areas, but a few years ago, Supervisor Campbell, there was a road that was that washed out area going up to Cedar Ridge. What was that called again? Kuhn Mill Road. So like when you get Kuhn Mill Road and you get certain roadways that are washed away, I think about that project. I think about like how the military, if they had to get from one point to the other, they would just handle it. What do I tell people when they say those places were replaced quicker, and there's abilities, like if you got the military involved, on a mission and they had to build a bridge or fix a road, why does this take so long for these roads? And maybe in certain areas, it seems like it gets done, like, how to explain that?
So in 2017 and 18, we saw mainly culvert damage. Culverts, 9 times out of 10 can be replaced without engineering calculations. You do some hydrology analysis, et cetera. These sites that we have right now are very serious slides. They drilled North Tuolumne yesterday. It's bad. So knowing that these are structural failures, it just takes a lot longer.
Is it specific to area, or are we finding there's larger sections of these roads, or is it very specific?
So far it's been specific, but like Ward's Ferry, we have some slides that are 200 feet long. Buchanan, it's about 200 feet. Tuolumne Road North is pretty close to that, if not longer. It's some interesting geology, and we're going as fast as we can.
I know you guys are.
Yeah.
I just wish it was like in the war zone, then we'd have it fixed by the feds quicker maybe, I don't know.
Supervisor Half, I think it might be a good time for Dory and Blossom and Kim to kind of explain the process we also have to go through when we're working with FEMA and NEPA and all of that, that sometimes these roads and these projects, like way back when, take longer because we actually have to get approval from FEMA many times before we can move forward.
Are we waiting for approval from FEMA?
This is, it depends. That's one's FHWA, I think you said, but it depends on the funding and also the length of who we have to get approval from. I don't know specifically for FHWA if you have to get approval, but FEMA, a lot of our projects way back when had gotten held up and waiting for them to give us final approval. So I think we just want to make sure that the board is aware that when we're working through these emergency funding sources, that we have to also work through any environmental issue, any environmental type of things that they require, as well as what they require for approvals before we actually do the repairs, or they may not cover them. In case you guys might not remember, some of you will, some of you won't. There are many, many instances nationwide where FEMA has come in and refused to actually reimburse for millions and millions of dollars of costs. And so we have to be very careful and really be methodic how we step through these, or we will be on the hook for, I think Napa, it was like $20 million after their earthquake and stuff. So it's bad, and that's why we also take our time to make sure that we're checking all those boxes so that we don't end up on the hook for something like that later.
If I can also mention that this storm does not have an end date as of yet, so it's still continuing. Many of the counties, including ours, are still finding damages. Obviously, as the snow melts, we will see an increase to those. For example, when the disaster is declared and issued, it has a DR number that has been issued for this particular storm for the February continuing. That's DR 4699. We just received notification today that next week we will have our applicant briefing. That's for all the public entities who have initial damage estimates. That's when you meet with FEMA, Cal OES, understand what the timing is, and as CIO Riggs explained, there is a very specific process that we have to follow if we want to be eligible for any reimbursement of cost, so.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go to the audience and the public.
Well, I would like to see a little leadership from the five of you, because they're being bombarded by some very vicious, nasty social media comments that don't help. And when people are out there and all they want to do is heap criticism without ever coming up with a possible solution, or, hey, I'll bring my shovel, I'll help you. That just says something very negative about our community, and I think we need to stop that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board for any final comments. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move on staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, so it was motion by Supervisor Brandon and second by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, carries 5-0. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. All right. We're on to item number 14. Tanya.
Item 14, consideration of recognizing $615,000 in unanticipated revenue from the California Health and Human Services Agency, Office of Systems Integration, for American Recovery Plan Act County Technology Enhancements, and increase appropriations in the same amount in the fiscal year 2022-2023 Department of Social Services budget. 4/5 approval required.
Chairwoman Half, members of the board, Steve Boyack, Health and Human Services Agency. So the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 allocated one-time 100% federal supplemental nutrition assistance program administrative funding to the state of California through its Health and Human Services Agency for additional investments in the CalFresh programming for federal fiscal years 21 through 23. On February 9, 2023, our staff submitted a request to the California HHSA, Office of Systems Integration for Technology Enhancements, outlined in the table of this staff report for a total of $615,000. On March 7th, 2023, the California Office of Health and Human Services Agency, Office of Systems Integration, sent the attached letter. That letter is attached to the staff report, notifying the Department of Social Services that the full $615,000 requested would be allocated for technological enhancements as listed in that table. So there are no financial obligations from the general fund concerning this recommended action. So funds have been allocated to Tuolumne County for the use through the end of this federal fiscal year, which ends September 30, 2023. In the financial section of the staff report, we did outline the budget expense accounts and how the $615,000 would be delineated. So it is respectfully recommended that your board recognize $615,000 in unanticipated revenue from the California Health and Human Services Agency's Office of Systems Integration for American Recovery Plan Act County Technology Enhancements, and increase appropriations by the same amount in the fiscal 22-23 Department of Social Services budget. And Chairwoman Half, this action requires 4/5 vote. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions from the board. Supervisor Goldenberg.
So thanks for the report, reading through here. So I guess my main question is capacity to be able to actually spend out those funds before they might expire on September 30th.
So the way accounting works in social services supervisor, we have to have a complete expenditure ledger by June 30
Okay.
for us to claim through federal pass-through. So it is our anticipation that we're going to spend every single bit of this money
Right.
for fiscal years end.
So even tighter timeframes than June 30th.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. So a question with this, it looks like about 85% or so is going to the access control system, which I'm guessing it's the key fob basically at doors. But I'm assuming this is for rent, these are the facilities we currently rent, and we have long-term plans to move out of those facilities.
So I brought a staff person with me, Mr. Tu Yang. He is a agency manager for social services who put this action plan together. I'll have him come up and answer that question for you.
Great, thank you. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Would you repeat that question again, Supervisor Brennan?
Yeah, it has a number of other things that I think are really good upgrades. Just one concern is about 85% of this is going to the access control system. My understanding is we have a long-term plan as far as our rented facilities. So is this going to rented facilities that within 2 or 3 years we might be moving out of? Or is this going to permanent facilities we're improving?
So currently, it's gonna go to the renter facilities, but those access doors, they can be removable, meaning that we can just take them out and take it with us to the new building and put on those new doors. And then the actual access control, they're actually going to be, my understanding is gonna be in this building, so it's a network. So that network, that infrastructure is actually here, and then all those so-called wireless magnetic doors could be removable.
Okay, no, that's great. And is this gonna also include facilities at Tuolumne General as well?
Yes.
Behavioral health and whatnot, veteran, okay, wonderful. I think that was my only question, so appreciate it.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, I'll take it to the audience, to the public. Any comments from you folks? Seeing none, I'll bring it back for final comments from the board, if there are any, or I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recognize the $615,000 in unanticipated revenue per staff report in the agenda.
And what was that last part?
Per the staff report.
Okay.
I mean, what they spelled out.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Supervisor Goldenberg, seconded by Supervisor Brandon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries 5-0.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we have a closed session, I see, and reports, so I think I'd like to go to reports. Oh, Tracy, sorry about that. Just glossed right over you. Item 15, Tanya, would you please read item 15?
Thank you, Chair Hav. Item 15, consideration of reducing general fund contingencies by $611,482, increasing appropriations in the fire fund by the same amount, and authorizing the purchase of a Type 1 engine and other fire equipment from Harrah's, Northern California. 4/5 vote required.
Good afternoon. Over here.
Yes.
Yes. So in January of this year, a handful of months ago, our county fire staff were made aware of some potential engines that were going to be available for purchase. They are used, but in quite good shape. And so Assistant Chief DeTulio had a conversation with CIO Riggs, and they decided that it would be a good idea to at least pursue that option. And so there's been many months that they've been negotiating We're really just looking into what actually might be available for purchase. And so staff have now settled on a proposal to purchase 2019 Smeal Type 1 engine, 21 portable radios, and 89 fire hoses. This would be from the Buena Vista Rancheria Fire Department. The department actually is closing, and so they don't have the use for those the engine and pieces of equipment anymore. I do want to let you know that the engine only has 22,000 miles on it, and it being a 2019 has fairly, modern technology. The estimated cost of the radios, if they were to be purchased new, would be $70,000, and it would be at least a year for delivery. The estimated cost of the hose, if it were to be purchased new, would be over $35,000. And then the estimated cost of the new engine, if it were to be purchased new and fully outfitted, which this engine would be fully outfitted, would be over $1 million. So Chief Wood was able to go and inspect the engine and the equipment and feels like it's a really good purchase, and that it would most importantly be a good addition to the county's aged fleet, putting the fire department in a place that it hasn't been in many decades, really. And another item of note, that by purchasing this engine, the fire department, Tuolumne County Fire Department, would be able to utilize it on the front line immediately, and then take one of the used engines that had been purchased from Mariposa County a few months ago, and put that into reserves, and then retire an engine that's currently in reserves that is quite old and in need of quite a lot of repairs, and so that won't be an issue any longer. So, and then the purchase of the radios will supply all career staff, including the new safer positions, as well as county volunteer personnel with reserve equipment. And then the purchase of the hose will allow for backup hose for all 5 frontline engines. So the invoice that was included in the agenda packet is for $611,481.25 to purchase all of that equipment. And as mentioned, although it's used by the Buena Vista Rancheria Fire Department, it's actually in ownership by Harrah's Northern California. And so that would be the purchase, who we would be purchasing it from. So currently, there is a little over $3.2 million in the general fund contingencies. And so if the board approves this purchase, general fund contingencies would be set at $2,602,272. And I do want to mention that per your board's budget policy, any budget actions like this that require 4/5 vote are required to go to the budget team for approval before they come here to your board. And so we had a very quick turnaround on this. We were just made aware of it late last week, but we were able to bring it to the budget team for their vote, and we did get a majority of the budget team to support this action. So I'm requesting that your board reduce general fund contingencies and increase appropriations in the fire fund by $611,482, and then authorize the purchase of this equipment. And that this does require 4/5 approval from your board.
All right, questions from the board? Supervisor Goldenberg.
I'm in favor of this purchase, first of all. Yeah, it's roughly half the cost of what it would be, 1.1 million versus 1.2 million. The funding for it is a question for me. What do we have left in ARPA funds?
We have about 1.1 million. We are still kind of finalizing some expenses that have been taking place throughout this last fiscal year. But about 1.1 million is where we think we are.
Okay. My concern here is just on contingencies. That I think it's a perfect use of ARPA funds, and that'll kind of balance that out, and let's keep the money in contingencies as much as possible. Sorry, that was a comment in addition, but.
CAO Riggs.
It doesn't, honestly, I did discuss this with Sarah because that's not in the language, but we did feel like you deciding how you wanted to fund it was within, that you're still contemplating, considering funding it at all. You could tell us that you want to fund it differently is where I'm going, and you're still okay with the agenda language.
Any other questions? Supervisor
Questions.
Kirk.
How much do we usually put in contingencies each year? What's our policy? What is it?
The policy is 1% of the general fund, excluding, 1% of the general fund.
Is it around 250? But haven't we? Did we put-
So this,
Is it-
it's a little under $1 million is the like bare minimum for what has to be in contingencies.
So 1 million, but didn't we put more last year?
Yes,
How much did we put in last year?
we put in 3.3 million.
Okay, 1 million usually, but we did 3.3. Okay. And then my only other, I hear what Supervisor Campbell's or Goldenberg's saying, but I just don't want to. Didn't we have a conversation about ARPA funds and where that extra million would maybe go, or is that another conversation we should have, or is that just?
The discussion your board
Benchmark.
had was, and Supervisor Half was really a big part of this, was wanting to make sure you kept at least $1 million to roll into the next year, not knowing what was going
Right,
to
okay.
happen. So honestly, when we're looking at budget and finance, if you're going to fund it, taking out of one or the other really isn't going to matter. So it's up to you where you would like to take that from. It is a good fit for the ARP funding, just because it's a big lump sum and it's easy to pay it out of that account. And like, you know, your auditor controller has told you, paying for equipment out with that money is so much easier when we're doing staff and other types of expenses. So I do believe it's a good fit with what you've done in the past.
Could we put, if we didn't do ARPA funds, could we put those ARPA funds back into contingencies later? Or is there a rule against not putting that into
I
contingencies?
don't know that you can use it for contingencies. I don't see anything that you can do that. You need to spend it. So you still have some time. You are not under the gun to spend
So
that
I-
money, but you're gonna be able to take that
My
and
point
just
is,
put it in
if
the
we
savings.
pay from contingencies, we can't shuffle it later, whereas if we pay from ARPA,
Yeah,
it's a
I
done
would,
deal.
I think you have limitations. That's why I was looking at
Okay.
Sarah. You're not gonna be able to just put that into contingencies. So that's why it is a good fit if you would like to do that.
That's all. Thanks.
Supervisor Brandon.
I didn't have questions, just a
Oh, I
comment.
thought you did.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
I have a comment on that line of discussion that we just had, so I can wait.
Okay. So we'll take it to the public, to our audience, and see if anybody has any comments they'd like to make on this agenda item. All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for final comments, and Supervisor Ryan.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Supervisor Goldenberg. My thought is that ARP is more for these types of capital investments, and I remember now that discussion, and thank you Supervisor Kirk for raising that, about putting money into contingencies and then reserving some of the ARP money in case we need to reconcile the budget if we need more money in the budget at the end of the year. But I would be hesitant. I think it would, I don't know, a better way to say this, it looks better using these types of monies to purchase equipment, which is kind of closer to the purpose of that fund than it would be to shore up a budget shortfall that may come at the end of the year. I would feel much better about using contingencies in that case, which is exactly what contingencies are for, and then using ARPA for purchases of equipment, which is exactly what those funds are for, the way I interpret it. So I think I appreciate those comments, and I agree with Supervisor Goldenberg.
Thank you. Any other comments? Supervisor Brandon.
I agree with Supervisors Goldenberg and Campbell.
Supervisor Kirk?
Yeah, thank you. Wherever you guys want to go, ARPA, it sounds like a reasonable argument for ARPA funds, so.
Yeah, and just one point of clarification from what CAO Riggs said. I wanted to leave as much money in contingencies as humanly possible, because we know we've invested a lot in beefing up staff, and the piper is gonna come wanting to get payment for that. So I am in alignment with my board members, and at this point, I'd like to call for, entertain a motion.
So I'd like to make the motion to, and correct me if I'm wrong in how to phrase this, instead of reducing general fund, then the motion would be to use ARP funding to make, purchases, so.
All right, we have a motion on the table.
I'll second.
Okay, It was motioned by Supervisor Goldenberg and seconded by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, passes 5-0. Thank you, Liz. All right, so before we go into closed session, I think we should do the reports section. And so I'm going to ask Sarah, do you have anything to report?
Just really quickly, I went to the Civil Law and Litigation Conference last week. It was very good, and I'm going to another one this next week, so I'll be out for a little bit. Really, I wanted to thank my amazing staff because we spent a lot of time prepping, and we ultimately provided a public officials ethics training on the 7th. We probably will do it in the future. It's a lot of work, but it was really good, and everybody put so much effort into it, and I really appreciate it, and I think that the clients did as well, so thank you.
Thank you. CAO Riggs, nothing? Okay. Who wants to start here on the board with your reports? Okay, Supervisor Kirk.
Real quick, regular meetings, as we all know, CSAC was last week, but the two big things coming up for me specifically, on the 21st, which is this Friday, we're having another meeting with Caltrans and our state representatives and U.S. Forest Service and some business folks, basically to have another conversation about the 108 corridor being snow plowed. It's slow movement, but we're going to get an update on the 21st, and so I'll give the board an update after that meeting. And then also let my district know, and I'll be putting some media stuff out there, but next Wednesday evening from 5 to 6, I'll be holding a town hall meeting in Tuolumne, in the township of Tuolumne at the Memorial Hall. And then immediately after that, it's not included, but immediately after that, Tuolumne Parks and Recs is going to be having a meeting regarding potentially forming a CSD. They've been talking about it for 5 years, but my thing is not related to that. I'm just holding a town hall, and then I'll be sticking around afterwards to hear that conversation. But that's it.
Great. Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. Also attended the CSAC Ledge Conference. It was good to see so many of us there. I think we're, as a board, very engaged in a lot of these discussions, which is very good because it's an incredible learning space. One thing that I've been having a lot of discussions about has been AB 68. AB 68 is concerning to me as a piece of housing legislation that would potentially be making it very difficult to do any type of development within counties that have not filled in every infill property within a certain area. That means that it seems like another level of environmental review that would stop what sprawl is not very well defined, but say adjacent growth that expands a municipal footprint, but is not disconnected sprawl growth. And I've been trying to bring this up to some of the authors of the bill and the folks in it to help them understand how this would impact a rural community like ours. And I had some success, hopefully, with that. I'm also in discussions with, or at least called once, Senator Blake Spear's office, who I met at a Civic Well conference. This is about SB 511. This is related to state funding for basically setting climate inventories for all local and county governments. Basically what they're requiring us to do, except this is $2.5 million for them to do it, as a potential carrier bill for one of the ideas we've been discussing, or partnership with another senator, Senator Dolly, on amending the Global Warming Climate Solutions Act, I think of 2006, 2007. That's something Supervisor Kirk and myself, along with staff, have been working on for a while, since I've joined the Natural Resources Committee, and so we're kind of looking for an opportunity of how we might move that forward. Additionally, while at Ledge, I had the opportunity to have my first meeting at the Sacramento Rail Museum Foundation Board of Directors. I was recently appointed to that. It's a critical position to Rail Town. They bring in a lot of money, a lot of support, and also for the Rail Museum Foundation in Sacramento. One of the big things they're going to be looking at with the External Affairs Committee is how do we get more kids able to come in and experience this. And then I had to do triple duty as my first kind of in-person meeting with the Institute of Local Government. I was appointed by CSAC to be on their board of directors. I'm one of the 2 supervisors we have on there, seeking to see how we can have that, the Institute, and some of these other groups that do these incredible educational programs. And I want to encourage everybody on the board and the audience, subscribe to ILG. Go see all the trainings that they have, the webinars, most of them are free. It's a really great group. Everybody's recovering from COVID. That's a lesson from every single meeting. ILG is no different. And so reevaluating how they move forward. Other than that, a lot of very normal meetings every single day, all the time. So.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. The only two things I'll mention are participating in the YARTS Board of Directors meeting. Since our county became a full member of YARTS about 3 years ago, we haven't hosted a meeting here. COVID, I think, had a big part to do with that, but we finally did, and so that was very nice. Some of the things we discussed were changing the fee structure slightly. I think it's slightly more expensive, but not to a large degree. And then talking about the future of YARTS as an organization. I think we're in a much better financial state than we were a year and a half ago, but it's still getting the state on board with, state and federal partners on board with what we're doing at YARTS, I think is really critical. Take, for example, the state, only 1% of the funding for the Yosemite area transit system comes from California. The rest is provided by the member counties and some from the national park system, which is also a very low percentage. So you think about this critical resource, the most beautiful national park in the whole world, as far as I'm concerned, but at least in California, and yet only 1% of the funding comes from the state. So I put it on all of us to pressure any state senator or assembly member that's ever said anything positive about public transportation. Tell them, well, I'm glad you believe in that. How about funding YARTS? At the legislative conference that I participated in with many of you fine, my colleagues here, I served on the Government, Finance, and Administration Policy Committee as a vice chair. We discussed some of the changes in election procedure to make elections more secure and to kind of address some of the disinformation and misinformation that's out there about elections and get a clear understanding of what's being done at the Secretary of State's level to make sure that our elections are safe and not affected by some of these other things that are going on, social media or just kind of in the world in general. We also talked about the continuing efforts to expand broadband connectivity in our state, and I thank you, Supervisor Heff, for being there for that portion. So those are some of the things I've been up to. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Supervisor Goldenberg.
Yeah, so I've had, fairly busy schedule and trying to intermingle, county business along with family commitments. I didn't make the legislative conference last week. I took some personal time off to assist family members. I have been participating in normal committee meetings, and I also appreciate some of my fellow supervisors that have filled in for me when I was unable to do so. Other than that, on the homeless situation, we're all pretty aware, the recent developments that, consideration of Oak Terrace, many people, communicating with me, phone calls, emails, responding to those, and, understanding that it's just a tough situation. As chair of the homeless committee, we are doing everything possible we can to provide for housing, for our unsheltered population. And it's not an easy road, but we're going to keep moving forward on it and address the public concerns as we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I've got a laundry list, sorry you guys, but I'll try to make it quick. First of all, you've heard me talk about the housing collaborative that both Supervisor Brandon and I are on, and the May 18th event at Chicken Ranch, their bingo hall from 8:30 till 12 noon. this is going to be a really, they've all been good, but this is going to be a especially good one because we will be talking about how to move the housing conversation forward in our community, how to bring about champions that will be available to attend any kind of housing development that may come down the pikes. And so I want to encourage you all to think about coming. May 18th, 8:30 to 12 noon. We'll put you at separate tables so there'll be no worry about Brown Act violations. But I think it's a good idea for you to see now we're calling it a collaborative because it is not county-centric. It is private business owners, it is realtors, it is mortgage brokers, it is contractors, anybody you can think of that is involved with moving housing forward. It's city, it's county, it's tribes. All those folks are represented at this collaborative, and we've made some good momentum, and I think this is going to push us forward even further, and I would love to see your faces at this meeting upcoming. And Supervisor Campbell already talked about the YARTS meeting. The only thing I wanted to add about that is that I am personally carrying the torch at this meeting for the buses to make a reasonable and secure accommodation of bicycles so that locals here can ride YARTS to the park and ride their own bikes. That's become a personal mission of mine. So I just want you guys to know that. I've got handouts for you. This is draft form, but this is the Broadband for All project, if you can pass that down. We are having a regional meeting here on broadband for all of our mother lode counties. That's Alpine, Amador, Calaveras, Tuolumne County, and Mariposa County. And this regional meeting will be at our local Tuolumne Community Resilience Center on May 30th from 12 to 4. Now, this flyer is, like I said, a draft. It doesn't have who should attend, but I'm going to tell you who should attend. You guys, okay? Number one, city council people, members of chambers of commerce, business council members, realtors, civic-minded individuals, and that is for the purpose of discussing what's going on with infrastructure. So you get up-to-date information from the state on the middle mile projects that will affect us and the last mile projects. But also, in this same meeting, we want to encourage our nonprofit providers and invite them to come to understand what Access for All means. And we've got lots of different nonprofits and social services type providers that will be helping to train folks from the disadvantaged communities, elderly, disabled, and other folks that may not have access to broadband or to devices even. So it will be two quite different groups, but there will be breakout sessions, and we as a community and as a region will work out some of these things, what we expect to see, what we want to see with the state. And so it should be a good time for everyone to be able to have some input and learn some things. And lunch will be provided, by the way. So this is May 30th, 12 to 4 p.m., at least that's the times that are set right now, at the Tuolumne Community Resilience Center. And this is the draft that I just got at lunchtime, and I think it needs a few more things, but it tells you the basics. So that was really important to mention. I hope everybody can come. Tomorrow I continue on helping the Groveland Big Oak Flat with meetings, community plan meetings to continue working on their community plan after a hiatus because we stopped it last year and we haven't really had a chance to get things going again with all the storms and also all of my responsibilities as a board chair and the water agency chair. I won't say anything about the legislative conference because you guys have. Speaking of Tuolumne County Water Agency, we met with Jason Kiken of the U.S. Forest Service to discuss the idea of connecting watershed health with the fuels management projects that they have going on. And that's a to be continued, but that was a good first meeting with him. And I look forward to being interviewed by a firm that the city of Sonora hired. This is this week. They hired Citygate, and I would be a stakeholder in the city of Sonora's process, their goals and objectives. So I am honored with the invitation of being invited for I think it's a 1-hour interview. Lastly, we talked about it earlier today, but I am holding a town hall on wildfire preparedness on Tuesday, April 25th. That's next Tuesday, not today, from 5 to 6:30 at the Groveland Community Resilience Center. Dory, our OES coordinator, will be the one leading the presentation, but we will be accompanied by so many great representatives from our Sheriff's Office, CAL FIRE, Groveland Community Service District Fire, Public Works, Caltrans, U.S. Forest Service, CERT, and FireWise. And then also, just to mention that a group from FEMA will be there, will be on hand to help those with storm damages and begin the process of filing paperwork to receive the services that they qualify for their home or their business. So this will be an especially important meeting for the South County, and that means anybody in Groveland, Big Oak Flat, all the way to Lake Don Pedro area. It's a big area. Thank you. That concludes my reports. Now we have the closed session. Tanya, would you please read that?
Item 16, closed session, public employee performance evaluation, Authority Government Code Section 54957B1, titled Public Health Officer.
Okay, I'm going to ask if we have any public comment.
Well, I just want to say that I really appreciate the fact that I've kind of prodded her probably more than I should. But we've gotten numbers. I mean, some actual numbers on how many cases we have, what's really going on, and I think that's very helpful for our community.
Thank you. And Sarah, do we expect to report out on this? All right, so no reporting out. That means, okay, so we'll conclude after closed session, but there's nothing more left to video record. All right, thank you very much, and see you next time.